Well, hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to tonight's edition of The Goldie Show. Now, I was supposed to speak about Iranians in occupied Iran and the messages that they have been putting out since the internet has been restarted and Iranians are now reconnected with the rest of the world. And if you didn't already catch it, earlier today, I did make a video, like a teaser video, where I shared some of their messages. And, I had a whole um, live stream planned out for this evening. However, I have to put that on hold because if you've probably been watching the news, I actually just finished watching Jesse Waters on Fox News. Um, there are explosions, more explosions being reported in occupied Iran in Bandar Abbas. So let me show you where Bandar Abbas is. Let me pull it up here on my screen. And I wish I'd started earlier so that we could watch Jesse Waters live together. But I think he's going to do a replay. So we'll definitely watch the replay when it goes live on Fox News's YouTube channel. But here we go. This is Bandar Abbas. Let me pull this up on the screen. So this is Iran. How do I do this? Okay. So this is a map of Iran here, and Bandar Abbas is right there. So if I zoom in, right, Bandar Abbas is a port city. It's a very, very important and major port city. And it's right where the Strait of Hormuz is. And Bandar Abbas is home to a lot of IRGC bases, targets, and activity. So let's go to some of the breaking news, and then we're going to dive into President Trump's cabinet meeting today, because I have a feeling that President Trump's cabinet meeting and also his Truth Social posts, right? They're all basically saying the same thing, that President Trump is not going to wait around and President Trump is not going to allow the Islamic the Islamic regime to delay and to use the same tactics that they have used in the past. So I have bookmarked a few tabs here. So let's just dive right in. Jesse Waters had a whole segment on this. Let me just see. I think that he will be, I think he's going to be doing a premiere like he did yesterday. Let me just double check. Yes. Oh, perfect. Okay. So Jesse Waters is going to, here you go. So if you look on YouTube, Jesse Waters, I think he's going to repeat, he's going to rebroadcast what I think he's going to talk about it at 9:30. So we have to wait about 50 minutes or so, but we're going to tune in to Sean Hannity anyway, because Sean Hannity will have some updates for us. But let me just go to the clips really quickly, and then we're going to dive right in. So this is what, let me just make my screen smaller here for a moment. So here's what Jesse Waters literally just said moments ago.
News alert, we just carried out a new wave of strikes in Iran. The Pentagon confirming to Fox that U.S. forces struck 4 Iranian drones posing a threat to the Strait. CENTCOM also bombing an Iranian military site that was seconds away from launching a 5th drone. We're told these strikes were purely defensive and intended to maintain the ceasefire, quote unquote. This comes just after the president called a high-stakes cabinet meeting at the White House today. The main topic? Iran. News alert, we just carried out a new wave of strikes.
So this entire cabinet meeting, we're going to watch it and we're going to go through it. Obviously, we're going to skip the parts that are not about Iran and the Islamic regime. But I have that video lined up, and we're going to watch the whole thing so that we can analyze it together. Because again, as a former politician, this stuff is my bread and butter. I love doing this stuff. I'm like a political nerd in that sense. So this is the first video that I wanted to share. So Jesse Waters is confirmed. So let's listen to that again.
News alert, we just carried out a new wave of strikes in Iran. The Pentagon confirming to Fox that U.S. forces struck 4 Iranian drones posing a threat to the Strait. CENTCOM also bombing an Iranian military site that was seconds away from launching a 5th drone. We're told these strikes were purely defensive and intended to maintain the ceasefire, quote unquote. This comes just after the president called a high-stakes cabinet meeting at the White House today. The main topic, Iran.
Okay, and we're going to get to that momentarily. So there's that. And then here's another news clip. This is CNN. This is Fox News as well.
Target missile launch sites and boats in southern Iran. CENTCOM describes it as self-defense strikes. The strikes were conducted in an area of Bandar Abbas, where Iran's main naval base is located.
Oh, wait, I think this one's old. Sorry. Yeah, this is May 26th. Sorry, this one's old because I remembered how she pronounced Bandar Abbas, and I've seen that clip before. Okay, here we go. This is the more recent one. This is the one I wanted to actually share with you guys.
Out of farce, okay?
Wait, what's that? Let me close that. Okay. So this is from CNN.
Out of farce, okay? They are reporting along the Strait of Hormuz a series of 3 explosions near Bandar Abbas. So that is obviously right off on the Iranian side of the strait. So this is days after there was supposedly a deal. Then there were U.S., they say, defensive strikes. Today, Trump threatens Oman. But is there any strategy here if you out of farce, okay? They are reporting.
Okay. So CNN is confirming that as well. Now, there's some rumors, but I mean, again, like all of this is like unconfirmed. I'm not a big fan of speculation and rumors, but I mean, this could be true. It could not be true. So, I mean, take this with a grain of salt because it says early speculation suggests Brigadier General Ali Azmai, the newly appointed commander of the IRGC Navy, may have been targeted and possibly eliminated during the Bandar Abbas strikes. So if we go to our Boom Boom Bingo sheet, okay, let me pull up our Boom Boom Bingo sheet. So where's the Navy? Where's the Navy? Because we got the Navy guy. Quds Force. Siege. Navy, Tang City. So if we go to our Boom Boom Bingo sheet, Tang City was eliminated by the United States and Israel. Tang City, he was the guy that was going around and gloating that the Islamic regime Navy is top of the line and that they can easily defeat the United States. He was boom boomed, I think sometime back in March. So this guy was pretty much boom boomed right away. Actually, I can probably find the post here. Let me look it up for you guys. Because I spoke about this myself. Let me find it. Yeah, so he was boom boomed on March 26th. So the curse of the pointy finger strikes again. Ali Reza Tang City, the commander of the IRGC Navy, is dead. Thank you, Israel and IDF. Yeah, I think it was the IDF that did that. And what's really funny is that, you know, like literally 1 or 2 weeks or maybe like a month before he was boom boomed, Tang City is like sitting on the deck of this like Timu warboat. And he's casually threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz. But now he's dead, and the Timu warboat he's sitting on is at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. And my warning in this post is never go full jihad. Never go full Durka. So anyway, so this is who Tang City was, okay? So he was the IRGC Navy commander who was boom boomed. Guys, not to be confused with the Army Navy commander, right? Because we do have an Army Navy commander, right? That's this guy here. As you can tell, what's really interesting is that no one on the Army side, right? None of the top commanders on the Army side have been boom boomed. Only the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps side. And that's a really important distinction. And President Trump himself even commented on that. And President Trump himself said that there is a deliberate reason why the United States and the IDF have only targeted the IRGC side and not the Army side, because President Trump thinks that the Army is more reasonable. Now, my personal theory on why President Trump hasn't attacked the top commanders on the Army side is that I have a suspicion that there may be one or two Army commanders who have probably defected. And they're waiting for the right time to rise up. They're waiting for the final call of His Royal Highness, King Reza Pahlavi, to rise up and overthrow the Islamic regime. But here's the thing. If, let's say, the United States and Israel targeted the Army commanders who have not defected, right? Get rid of them, and only leave the ones alive who have defected, makes it pretty obvious, right? Because at that point, people are going to start asking questions. They're going to say, well, why is so-and-so alive and why is so-and-so boom boomed? So I think the reason that the United States and Israel have not targeted the Army commanders is because that in and of itself provides cover to those who may have defected and are waiting for the right time to rise up. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. It's just a theory that I have. But given that President Trump himself said that they have not targeted the Artish, the army, because he thinks that there are more moderate elements within the army, that's what I think is going on. And for a lot of people who are asking, well, why hasn't the army risen up yet to overthrow the Islamic regime? Well, first of all, look at the difference in top commanders, right? Look at the difference in, just the number of personnel between the army and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Keep in mind, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, was created in 1979 after the Islamic regime overtook Iran. And it was created for the sole purpose of protecting the Islamic regime, not just from the outside, but protecting the Islamic regime from the army and from the Iranian people. So the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, is there to make sure that the Islamic regime survives and continues. It's basically there to protect the totalitarian system that's currently in place. That's why they have much more personnel. The other thing is, so that's point number one. Point number two is that point number two is that the army has been severely underfunded for the last 47 years. All of the resources have been going to the IRGC. Why? Because again, the IRGC is full of people who are loyal to the Islamic regime. Whereas the army, the top level commanders, yes, or at least those who haven't secretly defected, but the general army itself is not really loyal to the Islamic regime, right? And the Islamic regime knows that. That's why the army is severely underfunded in terms of weapons, training, gear, whatever. So because of that severe underfunding, which has been done on purpose, it's difficult right now for the army to rise up. because the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is very strong. And keep in mind, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps also includes all of their proxy militia terrorist groups like Hamas, Houthis, Hezbollah, Hashd-e-Shabi, all these people, all these like foreign Durka jihadi terrorists as well. So that's that. And then, of course, point number 3 is that the top army commanders are Islamic regime loyalists. The regular army people are not, but the top commanders, yes. And that's how the Islamic regime has kept control over this. So those 3 points are why the army have not yet risen up against the IRGC, because the army, as far as I know right now, still is not capable to overthrow them. Now that might very well soon change. We don't know, right? And I feel that it is changing, right? I feel like there are certain things happening behind the scenes. And obviously, the weaker the IRGC becomes, the more likely the chances of success by the army, by those who have defected, when they rise up to take over the country and overthrow the Islamic regime. So that's just a little, background, inside info between the IRGC and the army. And of course, here's this IRGC guy. So anyways, going back to the speculation. Again, where'd it go? Right. So going back to the speculation, right? So there is speculation that Brigadier General Ali Azmai, who replaced this guy, right? So he replaced Tang Siri, who was boomed. I mean, there's speculation that he's been targeted. We won't know for sure until the United States puts out a statement. So let's just see who this person is, though. Like, guys, he wasn't even important enough to be on the Boom Boom Bingo sheet in the first place. So keep that in mind. So the post says, early speculation suggests Brigadier General Ali Azmai, the newly appointed commander of the IRGC Navy, may have been targeted and possibly eliminated during the Bandar Abbas strikes. Azmai, or Azmai, is a senior IRGC naval commander best known for leading the IRGC's 5th Naval Region, a strategically critical force tied to operations in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. If confirmed, the reported targeting of such a senior IRGC naval figure would mark a major escalation and another significant blow to the Islamic Republic's military leadership structure. With the IRGC Navy leadership still in transition after former commander Ali Reza Pahlavi was eliminated during the war, Azmai has reportedly assumed a major operational role. Again, we don't know if this is true or not, but that's what they're saying. Okay. Here's another clip. See, this is what I don't like about CNN. Like, she's saying this is days after supposedly there was a deal. When did President Trump ever say that there's a deal? Like that. Why are they spreading fake news? Guys, this is why like half of Americans don't even know what's going on, because you literally have these CNN broadcasters who are like, days after there was supposedly a deal, right? Guys, the only reason I'm playing CNN is just because it shows a good map of the area. That's literally the only reason. And Fox News already confirmed that the strikes have happened. So, yeah, you know, I don't even care about your commentary. Like, your commentary is garbage. Garbage woman, garbage commentary. Like, CNN at this point, CNN is pretty much just like carrying water for the Islamic regime at this point. They're just basically Islamic regime propaganda. Like, all right. So there's that. Right. So massive explosions heard in Bandar Abbas, including a suspected drone attack targeting a vehicle. Multiple local reports indicate explosions are once again being heard in Bandar Abbas amid ongoing tensions and military activity in the region. Reports also claim a vehicle was targeted in a suspected drone strike near Khalija Fars Boulevard, after which security forces reportedly sealed off the area and blocked major access routes. The situation in the strategic Persian Gulf port city appears increasingly tense as explosions, security deployments, and reports of covert activity continue to emerge. So this is sort of the breaking that we're getting on this right now. Of course, I am keeping an eye on Fox News because I want to go to Sean Hannity as soon as he goes live to see what info he has for us. And I also have President Trump's cabinet meeting lined up because I do want to watch the cabinet meeting in its entirety. So let me just see if Fox is published. Okay. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, perfect. Oh, this is great. Okay. So Fox News just posted the full Jesse Waters clip. Okay. Let me just fix this here. So I might have to cut halfway through though, because when Sean Hannity goes live, we definitely want to make sure that we go to Sean Hannity. So we don't want to miss Sean Hannity. But in the meantime, we'll start with this and I'll keep an eye on Fox News. Oh, wait, there's no sound? Okay, I'm so sorry. Oh no, guys, I apologize. Oh, you know what it was? My browser Okay, guys, totally my fault. Totally my fault. Um, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We'll go back to the beginning. Totally my fault. You know what it is? My browser lost audio and then I was supposed to like disconnect and reconnect it. And I didn't do that because I was too busy speaking. So totally my fault. I apologize. Let me reconnect. And then let me reconnect, but then we might not be able to watch. We'll have to watch it after because Sean Hannity is going live soon. So I don't know why like StreamYard does this. StreamYard does this sometimes and it's super annoying and super frustrating. Jeez. I don't even know. You know what? Let me just hold off on this because I feel like Sean Hannity's going to start soon anyway. So let me just go to some of your let me just go to some of your super chats and answer some of your questions, read some of your comments while we wait for Sean Hannity. So Texas trucker Jeff says, perhaps today is the day America plays the role of the Al-Zut and the IRGC is Momo. Maybe. I don't really know the story, but I've heard interesting things about that. All right. We'll just keep this on because Sean Hannity's going to start soon. Yeah, I mean, I don't think today is the day. I don't think today is the day. I really don't. I have a feeling
That guy kind of opened my mind up to it.
There we go. I have a feeling that it might be a few more days, right? Like these are just sort of, President Trump is giving warnings. I mean, here's the thing. President Trump is a rational, logical actor. Wait, is this like stuck? Jeez. I'm just having like the worst technical issues tonight. What is going on? All right. Let me bring this up. Okay. All right. This should probably work because that one seems to be stuck on loop. Oh.
And welcome to Hannity. We start tonight with a Fox News alert. The U.S. just conducted another round of strikes against Iran, taking out drones and other weapons that posed a threat to U.S. forces. We have much more on this breaking news coming up. Also tonight, in just moments, we will take you inside the president's cabinet meeting at the White House. From Iran to the economy to UFOs, nothing off the table. Stephen Miller, he'll weigh in tonight. Also, he'll respond to the Democrats' latest dramatic stunt outside of an ICE facility. And we will bid farewell to the failed impeachment king of Congress, crazy Al Green, who lost his primary battle in Texas. But we do begin tonight with an incredible stat that President Trump is now a perfect 118 for 118. In other words, every single candidate he endorsed won in this year's GOP primaries.
Wow.
MAGA is not just alive and well, but it is now thriving all across the country. Now, last night's big winner, Ken Paxton, defeating longtime incumbent Senator John Cornyn of Texas. He will join us in a moment. And Paxton, along with a slate of new MAGA.
Guys, keep an eye out for Alien Revolution Live. I'm going to be doing a special episode with my sister on her YouTube channel once it's up and running.
Puerto Rico, well, pictured here in a series of Texas-themed, I don't know, you want to call them glamour shots, is being promoted as the left's answer to toxic masculinity. In reality, Tallarico is an ultra-woke activist who is the antithesis of everything that makes Texas, Texas. God bless Texas. Anyway, he once bragged about running a vegan campaign, banning all meat in the beef capital of America. He promised to dismantle the oil and gas industry in the oil and gas capital of the world. He pushed for abortion care for transgender men. Help me out with that. And by the way, is obsessed with so-called transgender kids. He even vowed to roll out a welcome mat for illegal immigrants at the Texas-Mexico border. Sure, the people of Texas will be very happy to hear this. And of course, he referred to God as non-binary. Now, keep in mind, this is the guy Democrats nominated to be a senator from Texas. Take a look.
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us, and in many ways, like Jesus, like the cross, it's been co-opted, and in some ways, its true meaning has been betrayed. Our trans community needs abortion care too.
Oh my God!
There are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals. I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
Let me get this straight. So the flag and the Bible are complicated issues, not to most Americans. And by the way, I guess he's saying, forget that whole Our Father who art in heaven thing. Now, 6 genders, what are they? Naturally, James Tallarico appeared on his favorite network, MSDNC, last night in order to clean up some of these remarks. Even there, it did not go so well. Take a look.
He's going to spend a great deal of his time talking about you and transgender issues and children. What do you want Texas voters to understand about that?
Well, this is how puppet politicians like Ken Paxton stay in power. He's spent his entire career selling us out.
What about Texas voters who want to know from you on this particular issue? Is Ken Paxton telling the truth about you in relation to these issues, especially involving what he was just talking about there, transgender issues involving children?
No, Ken Paxton is clipping comments, taking them out of context to try to paint a picture, trying to paint me as someone I'm not.
You just heard Ken Paxton say that you are for open borders. What's your response to that?
I just told you that they were, clipping things that I've said. This is a perfect example because I said our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a welcome mat and a lock on the door.
Oh, a welcome mat. Okay. And by the way, what are the 6 genders? If anybody knows the answer, please email us here at foxnews.com. Anyway, we could go on and on about all of the disqualifying belief statements from James Tellerico, but a picture, well, that speaks 1,000 words. In a state that Donald Trump easily carried 3 times, this is not the ideal candidate, to say the least. And in Maine, for example, Democrats, they nominated somebody who is possibly even worse. Democrat Senate candidate Graham Plattner is a communist, an avowed communist, with a Nazi tattoo. Whoopsie daisy, I thought they didn't like Nazis, who apparently likes to engage in sex acts in porta potties. He is so terrible, even some Democrats, not many, are begging voters in Maine to choose somebody else. Susan Collins comes to mind. Take a look.
I've been clear about Graham Plattner. I find that tattoo and his commentary about it to be personally disqualifying. I hope Maine voters agree with me. I think there would be a mistake for the Democratic Party to think that Graham Plattner's brand of the Democratic Party is what wins us durable majorities throughout this country.
And not to be outdone, in Michigan, a leading candidate for the state's open Senate seat is a radical named Abdul El Sayed. Now, Sayed recently campaigned with American-loathing communist Hassan Piker, and by the way, also wants to abolish ICE and thinks that America is a free-for-all for everyone around the world. Take a look.
We start with your very own words, that you would like to abolish ICE. Now, what I would like to ask you is, ICE is simply the enforcement mechanism for democratically elected laws of the people. Now, for a party who has talked about the threat to democracy, is it your position that you do not want to see the will of the people, the democratically elected laws, enforced?
First of all, Will, you and I both know that immigration law is not criminal law. Immigration law is civil law. It's like getting a parking ticket. So the idea that we should have a paramilitary force that is weaponized on our streets to enforce civil law seems to me to be a bit over the top.
Might want to take into account something called the Supremacy Clause. Now, keep in mind the Michigan Democratic primary won't take place until August, but so far, the only positive outcome from Democrats in recent primaries is from a congressional runoff in Texas, where a leading Democratic candidate thankfully was defeated after she called for Zionists to be put in concentration camps. Now, the Democratic Party is in a very dark, very scary place, but the same cannot be said for the GOP, which is now reinvigorated with popular.
Can I just say something? The audacity of a guy named Abdul to tell Americans to get rid of ICE. The audacity. ICE needs to get rid of, deport the guy. Just deport, send him back to whichever country he's from. Abdul should not be telling you to get rid of ICE in your country.
He's running.
I cannot believe that. Oh my gosh. Guys, this is how they infiltrate. And then, did you see that Democrat guy? Oh wait, they're talking about the Democrat guy.
Because he wanted to get elected in a very left-wing Democratic Party. And now that he's in a general election, he wants to run from those words and act like they don't mean what he meant them to be in the Democratic primary. That's just not true. And we are going to hold him accountable to those words.
Do you believe that the people of Texas think that God is non-binary? Do you think that the people of Texas are going to agree with the idea of a welcome mat at our southern border? Do you think the people of Texas like to eat their beef? I happen to like Texas beef myself, cattle. And do you know what the 6 genders he's referring to are? Because I don't.
Look, I think he got lost.
Texas people, Texas peeps in the chat, let me know, give me the answer to those questions.
What he's talking about, 6 genders? I mean, that's ludicrous, and he knows it's ludicrous, and yet he pitched that when he was in the Democratic primary. Now he's acting like he didn't say it, but he still can't tell us what the 6 genders are. I don't think he ever will be able to, because there aren't 6 genders, there are 2.
You know, I actually thought that Jasmine Crockett would be the more controversial Democrat and the easier one to beat. But the more I learn about Tallarico, I think it's actually a good thing that he beat Jasmine Crockett, who I thought was the favorite in that race. Okay, something is happening. The president now has endorsed 118 people in these primaries. All 118, including you, have won. John Cornyn has been in office for many, many years.
I know, guys, I know that this has nothing to do with like Iran. I mean, although it kind of does, because if the Democrats come into power, that's bad for Iran and the Iranian people. It's good for terrorists and you know, the IRGC. I mean, we pretty much know where Abdul stands when it comes to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and supporting the IRGC, right? So we already know where Abdul stands. But guys, like, I'm invested. Like, this is wild. I'm going down like the dark political rabbit hole, but I'm sure he's going to get to Iran soon. But yeah, this is crazy. Oh, the one thing I wanted to say is that Democrat guy who's attacking your flag and he's saying that the American flag is complicated. Guys, that's how it starts. That's how it starts. They start demonizing your flag. They start demonizing your national identity. They start calling you racists for being patriotic and America first. And they call you racist for wanting to fly the American flag. Guys, that's the exact same MO that the woke progressive left did in Iran back in the 60s and 70s before the Islamic regime coup d'etat. It's the same MO from the jihadis, from the communists, from the Marxists, and from the woke progressive left. They took our flag away from us. And even now, to this day, when we fly our Lion and Sun flag, they call us fascist. They call us fascist for flying and raising the Lion and Sun flag and for saying that Iran belongs to Iranians, right? Apparently we're fascist for saying that. So guys, nip it in the bud. Nip it in the bud. Do not let them take your flag from you, because that's how it starts. And I'm speaking from, you know, historical knowledge, right? Because that's exactly what happened in Iran.
Agree with you. You know, everyone say, "Oh, the war is just killing us right now." Well, we polled the war over the weekend, and as the president stayed at the White House, his numbers actually got better on the war. And when he took action on Sunday, they really got better. So it just tells you, you don't know where this war is going to end up, and it could end up being a leading issue in favor of the Republicans once Trump gets this done. He saves us from nuclear weapons. Potentially in Iran. As far as the economy and the like, it's going to take some time to bounce back. But I think the president's obviously very persuasive. I would say one thing. The members of the Republican senatorial leadership had better get in line and take a message tonight from what is happening, because they are probably the biggest problem we have right now in seeing re-election for the Senate in this upcoming contest.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that more in a minute, but let me bring in Charlie. Historical trends show that the party in power usually would lose seats in a midterm. I don't know if anything conventional applies when Donald Trump's involved. Do you?
No, he manages to turn everything on its head. And it's not just a midterm, it's the midterm of a second term for the administration. So it's even, you know, those elections are usually absolute wipeouts. And you would think it would be even more so given the fact that it is a second term that happened after a 4-year interregnum. If you had asked me at the beginning of the year what was going to happen, I would have told you with great confidence that Republicans were going to lose both chambers. There's just no way, because of those historical trends you're talking about. But when you start looking at how badly the Democrats have misplayed their hand, as well as the terrific set of issues that President Trump has embraced, also the unity. What we have seen in these primaries is a unity in the Republican Party that I don't ever remember seeing. And it's that unity, again, in a midterm, in the second term of a presidency. And that unity means everything. And I think with Democrats looking at somebody like Graham Plattner in Maine, having to defend James Tallarico, having to defend candidates like Abdul al-Sayed in Michigan, this is going to be a toxin that is going to hurt Democrat candidates running everywhere because, of course, they're so far out of the mainstream, out of the norm, that it becomes a national story every time they open their mouths.
Yeah, Matt, let me ask you. We've got important Senate races. Are you worried about Texas or Iowa or Maine? Two I'd keep my eye on that I might be concerned about are North Carolina and Georgia. Any areas?
I mean, so really quickly, because a lot of you are asking, so interregnum is a period of discontinuity, gap, or breathing space in a government, organization, or social order. It's now used broadly to describe any time without a leader or normal operations. So when this gentleman said that there was an interregnum, a 4-year interregnum between President Trump's 2 terms, he's basically insulting Joe Biden by saying that, the 4 years was a time without a leader or normal operations, probably referring to the whole auto pen situation and the fact that Joe Biden was just, his cognitive ability was not there. He was not able to properly lead the country.
The polling that you get out of Maine, I would say Ohio does concern me a little bit. I'd say the Republicans need to take some of that money that they spent trying to keep Cornyn in office and start spending it on trying to win some of these critical races. And again, I got to say to the leadership, listen to what happened, folks. The filibuster, the Democrats are going to take it away. We do not understand. We as Republicans, we as conservatives do not understand why in the world you sit there and try to keep something that wasn't even in the Constitution alive. Time to end the filibuster and get President Trump's agenda passed, some of it now, before you even get to the midterms. That we get a lot of folks to turning out and voting.
Charlie, in Michigan and New Hampshire, possible pickups for Republicans for the Senate?
Oh, I think without a doubt. And I think that, as you mentioned a minute ago with President Trump, Donald Trump has turned every single political norm on its head. He manages to win elections by spending less money. He turns out, he manages as a Republican, a billionaire Republican, he manages to increase turnout among minority voters that any other Republican would have killed for. He does all. He rewrites every single every single rule that we've gotten used to. So I would think that absolutely in a state like Michigan, especially if they wind up with a really lunatic candidate, I think that most voters are striving for normal people who are who embrace real issues that affect them, which is what Donald Trump has done. And I think that if Republicans do that, I think everywhere is on the table for them.
All right, Charlie Hurt, Matt Towery, thank you both. Now we turn to more bad behavior from Democrats who are rioting outside of an ICE facility in New Jersey. This is repeatedly the party of lawlessness. Here with more, Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security, Stephen Miller. I look at this and it's like the defund, dismantle, no bail, sanctuary city, state, rob the taxpayers, no law and order. Don't get it. Will people remember this when they go to the ballot in November?
I think they absolutely will, Sean. There's no issue where the contrast has been more clear between President Trump and the radical anti-cop, anti-police, anti-ICE, pro-criminal Democrats than on the question of public safety. Under President Trump's leadership, we've seen murder rates fall to their lowest level in recorded history in 125 years, the steepest reduction in violent crime ever recorded, the largest deportation of criminal aliens in American history. We've seen Washington, D.C. transformed from a hellscape into a beacon of safety and also beauty, as you see all these fountains being rehabilitated and you see our streets being cleaned up, the homeless camps being dismantled. Look at Memphis. It was per capita the most violent city in America. The murder rate in just a short time under President Trump's leadership has been cut by more than 50%. Now, of course, these riots at the ICE facilities. And by the way, the rioters who obstruct federal law enforcement are being arrested and they're being charged with felony criminal conduct, and they will do hard time in jail.
Good.
But what you see, Sean, are Democrats rioting to defend pedophiles, rapists, murderers, and the scum of the earth that ICE is removing from our streets, instead of supporting the heroes of ICE and Border Patrol that President Trump has dispatched to make America safer than ever before.
You know, let me ask you about the midterm, because I think all...
So just really quick, you see how the Democrats are demonizing ICE, you know, the communists, the immigrants, I should say illegal immigrants, right? So the communists, the Marxists, the woke progressives, the Democrats, and the illegal immigrants are all demonizing ICE. Even though ICE is just doing its job to keep America safe from internal threats, right? That's exactly what was happening to Savak, right? Savak was sort of like, it's kind of like the CIA, basically. It was the Iranian version of the CIA, and the woke progressive left, the communists, the Marxists, the illegal immigrants, the jihadis, they were all demonizing Savak, right? Why? Because Savak was doing their job. And now you're seeing the same exact ideology and mentality going after ICE. So, I mean, it's basically history is repeating itself, right?
Is the American people understand the hell that we inherited and the extraordinary paradise that President Trump is building. From record inflation that we had under President Biden to the cost of living going down faster than it has ever gone down before. From unaffordable energy to the great American energy boom. From violence, bloodshed, and chaos in our streets, as I mentioned, to record public safety. From a wide open southern border, the mass invasion of our country, to the most secure border in American history. From woke policies that push transgender insanity and critical race theory and racism and prejudice in our schools to a world of sanity, a world of stability, and a world of meritocracy. On every issue, President Trump has pushed policies that are the heart and soul of the American belief system, the mainstream center of what Americans believed, and he's led with competence, with courage, and with clarity. And the American people will reward that come November. I am sure of it.
All right, Stephen Miller, by the way, it was great to see you as much as I was able to on the China trip, and we appreciate you.
What an amazing time, Sean. Thank you.
Amazing, long trip, amazing time. All right, breaking tonight, the U.S. just carried out another strike on an Iranian military facility. We have details coming up straight ahead. The very latest where things stand with peace negotiations. Senator Lindsey Graham, he will join us live next, straight ahead.
Okay, so American commercials are weird. So I have Fox News monitoring it, but let me go to some of your super chats really quick during the commercial break here. And guys, I apologize for my hair. It's like really humid out today. Texas Trucker said no audio. Yeah, thank you for that. I apologize, guys. Yeah, there was an issue with the browser, but it's been resolved now. Christian Evan Christensen says, you feeling golden today, Goldie? I certainly am. Norwegian Supreme Court has opened for imprisoning for hate speech before conviction. Noor Pahlavi visiting Oslo on the 1st of June. Yes, so I just saw the news. I shared the poster on Instagram. So the crown princess of Iran, who is next in line to become the Shah of Iran, she is visiting Oslo, Norway on the 1st of June. And that is pretty exciting. I do hope that she calls out the Norwegian foreign ambassador and tells him that for him to visit the Islamic regime and normalize them is very shameful. Adam says, vote Republican, down ballot, everyone. Yes, I agree. Kurt Schmidt. Goldie, need to see Mark Levin on Daniel Sean book, who I never heard before, but he says nothing less than regime change. Yes, I have been following Mark Levin for a long time. I've shared a lot of Mark Levin's live streams and podcasts on my channels, on my live streams. And yeah, Mark is great. Mark Levin really gets it. So, he's one of the solid ones, one of the good ones. And, he's always raised awareness about the Iranian people and the plight of Iranian people. In fact, earlier today, he posted this. So, he does a very good job of calling out the woke right and the Democrats. So here you can see Mark Levin shared President Trump's Truth Social post from earlier today that is calling out, the Islamic regime for their crimes of sexual abuse in Iranian prisons, which surged after the ceasefire, which we Iranians, we know, because this is what we've been dealing with for 47 years. So this is unfortunately way too common. So yeah, Mark Levin is one of the good ones. But thank you for that suggestion. I will definitely check it out for sure. And all right, Fox News is still on commercials. So let's go to some more super chats. Black Cat, Goldie is the best gender. There are two of them. No, I'm not a gender. Nope. No. There's only two genders, male and female. That's it. PC says, Goldie, pray the Democrats do not return to the White House for many years. Yes, I certainly pray and certainly hope so, because I feel like President Trump really brought the United States back from the brink of like total and utter ruin. Because like the way that the United States was going under Joe Biden, it basically reminded me a lot of the first 5-6 years of Canada under liberal rule. And unfortunately, Canadians, for whatever reason, they keep on voting for the liberals, and now Canada has pretty much become a communist and Islamist hellhole. PC Goldie says, so PC says Islam is not a religion; it's an oppressive system. I agree. Like political Islam is definitely, I think, an oppressive system, and I don't agree with Sharia law at all. Okay, wait, let's go back to Sean Hannity.
Against Iranian attack drones that are threatening the Strait of Hormuz. Central Command took down 4 drones today, eliminated a 5th before it could be launched. President Trump held a cabinet meeting at the White House today where he shared an update on the situation in Iran and spoke about the possibility of a true and lasting peace in the Mideast. Take a look.
The Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we have to go back and finish it. Maybe we don't. I'm not sure we should make the deal if they don't sign. You want to know the truth. If they don't sign to join the Abraham Accords, I don't know that we have countries in there already. UAE, great countries, bold countries. And it's turned out to be so good, so effective. And so we're, requesting strongly that they join. It'll be great. It'll be great for Saudi Arabia. It'll be great for Qatar.
As South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham pointed out on X earlier today, peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia would be the single biggest change in the Middle East in thousands of years. And if anyone can get it done, it is President Donald J. Trump. Here with more, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. First of all, I guess after Cassidy in Louisiana and Cornyn and Massey, I guess it's probably a really good thing that Donald Trump again gave you multiple full-throated endorsements for your campaign. And let the truth be told, I think you played golf or you play golf with the president more than any single senator alive. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, because I always lose, I get invited back. So if you get nothing else out of this interview, Donald Trump endorsed Lindsey Graham. My primary is June 9th. Let's don't break his streak. So let's stand with President Trump. Let's keep his endorsement streak alive. And I am honored to have his endorsement. I've worked well with him. And I think he's the most consequential president in my lifetime. And he's cleaning up Biden's messes. Stephen Miller, who's the architect of the most secure border in the history of the country, led by President Trump's sheer will to make it secure, left out something. Donald Trump is dealing with a mess that Biden created for the world when he withdrew from Afghanistan. Russia invaded Ukraine, not on Trump's watch, but Biden's watch. Obama and Biden screwed Iran up, and Donald Trump is fixing it. Obama gave Iran tens of billions of dollars, and they took the money and they started building nuclear uranium with it, weapons-grade material. Biden reversed all of Trump's policies when he took over, and Donald Trump stopped Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. They're the weakest they've been since 1979. They're on the verge of a peace deal because they're weak. And what Donald Trump said, President Trump said about Saudi Arabia and Israel, if you get nothing out of this interview other than Trump endorsed me, if he can pull this off, if he can get Saudi Arabia, the center of Islam for the entire world, to recognize the Jewish state Israel, he will have ended the Arab-Israeli conflict that's been going on for thousands of years. They should change the Nobel Prize to the Trump Prize. If he can do that, and I think he can, it's the biggest change in the history, in the modern history, and in the ancient history of the Mideast, where the Arabs and the Jews live together, where it becomes a center of power economically, not a powder keg. And once you put Iran in a box, and he's going to do that, we're going to have peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Nobody thought that was possible. I believe it's possible. And there's one guy can do it, Donald Trump.
I don't think people really realize the extent. Weren't you the first person after 2020 to say, you've got to try this a third time? Would Justice Kavanaugh be on the bench if it wasn't for the relationship that you had with President Trump to fight for Justice Kavanaugh? Would the one big beautiful street, had you not had that relationship that is very close with President Trump?
What's going on?
For almost a year. Now, President Biden tried to get Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords. And what are we talking about? Recognizing the Jewish state, making peace with Israel. Doesn't stop that process. Watch, and Obama's watch, Iran became rich and lethal. On Trump's watch, they're becoming poor and weaker. That's the difference between Obama, Biden, and Trump. Poor, rich, strong,
I changed the stream.
The big prize on the table in the Mideast, and really is for the world, is can you get the center of Islam, Saudi Arabia, to recognize the Jewish state? I think Donald Trump can do that. And what happened?
I know you're in contact with all of the countries in the Middle East. Are you getting any indication?
My phone's been ringing off the hook.
Sir?
My phone is ringing off the hook. My phone is ringing off the hook because he said I should link the two. He's saying to the Arabs, look what I've done for you. He saved MBS. He's the best friend Israel's ever had. Everybody in the region should rally around the idea of adding Saudi Arabia and other countries to the Abraham Accords. It would change the makeup of the Mideast in a way that nobody could envision just a year ago. It would change the Mideast for the better, the biggest change in thousands of years. To our Arab allies, you need to help President Trump. You need to embrace the fact that it is now time to end the Arab-Israeli conflict, make peace with Israel, build on the Abraham Accords. And if you say no to him, you say no at your own peril. Look what he's done for the Arab world. Look what he's done to your biggest enemy, Iran. Look how he stood by you when other people were going to abandon you. As to our friends in Israel, you have no better friend than Donald Trump. Quite frankly, Donald Trump, you owe it to him. You owe it to your people. You owe it to the world to do what he's asking you to do. Build on the Abraham Accords. I've never been more optimistic than I am right now. My phone's been ringing off the hook. President Trump, stay on this. You're right to want to expand the Abraham Accords. You can do this.
All right. Did you mention, by the way, that Donald Trump endorsed you and he gave you a full-throated endorsement, multiple? I'm just kidding. Anyway, Lindsey Graham, we appreciate you being
June
with
9th.
us.
Thank you, pal. Thank you.
Okay. And coming up, Joe Biden, desperate to keep his communications with his biographer hidden from you. now launching a legal challenge. Greg Jarrett will break that down. Plus, stunning new details reveal Biden's DOJ feared the political fallout of the FBI Mar-a-Lago raid. We have an investigative report. JustTheNews.com's John Solomon straight ahead.
Okay, so that's pretty much it for Sean Hannity's segment on Iran. Oh no, weird American commercials. So, okay, I want to go to Jesse Waters, because Jesse Waters, we were about to play this, and then of course there was a no audio issue, but now the audio is working, and thankfully he posted the entire clip. So let's watch this, and then afterwards we're going to get into President Trump's cabinet meeting, and I'm going to give you my political analysis based on obviously what was said earlier, plus the news now of these attacks. And I'll be right back in like 30 seconds because I forgot to try the shot of olive oil, and my throat is feeling a little bit dry and coughy right now. So Aaron, thank you for the reminder. I am going to go right now and take a shot of olive oil, and let's see if that works. I've never done a shot of olive oil to help with like an itchy throat, but I will let you know how that goes. All right, guys, I will be right back.
Fox News alert, we just carried out a new wave of strikes in Iran. The Pentagon confirming to Fox that U.S. forces struck 4 Iranian drones posing a threat to the Strait. CENTCOM also bombing an Iranian military site that was seconds away from launching a 5th drone. We're told these strikes were purely defensive and intended to maintain the ceasefire, quote unquote. This comes just after the president called a high-stakes cabinet meeting at the White House today. The main topic, Iran.
Well, I think we're doing very well. I think are starting to give us the things that they have to give us. And if they do, that's great. And if they won't, then the man on my left is going to finish them off.
The man on his left, Pistol Pete.
We're going to use maximum lethality, and we're going to bring them to their knees. And so whether it's their Navy that's at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, their Air Force, their air defenses, or their defense industrial base, they may have missiles, but they can't build more right now. And they can't build more drones right now. And they can't build more ships. And so they came and cried uncle to talk.
Administration sources believe a deal's still imminent. We're using the carrot and the stick.
I think there's been some progress and some interest, and we'll see over the next few hours and days whether progress could be made. I just want to remind everybody, Mr. President, you know this well, you have other options available to you if that doesn't work. But the bottom line is that we prefer the negotiated diplomatic route, and we're going to give it every chance to succeed.
The markets are bullish on the deal. The Dow and S&P hit record highs today, and oil fell to the low 90s.
Okay, so update on the olive oil shot. I couldn't do the full shot. I could only do like a third of it. I only did a third. I can't drink a whole thing of olive oil, but I did like a third of the shot, and my throat feels a bit smoother. So thank you for the suggestion. If it starts getting scratchy again, maybe I'll go have like another third shot of olive oil, but I don't think I can do the full thing. I don't think I can stomach the whole thing all at once. Okay. Let's continue.
That's after we gave them another love tap earlier this week, and then just now, wiping out members of the Guard after catching them laying mines in the Strait. The regime's response? Not much. Their negotiators kind of ignored it to keep peace talks on track. And they're trying to put a leash on the Guard, telling them to quit with the Strait shenanigans if they want to live to see another day. The mullahs have no choice. The clock's working against them.
They're just going back to the internet because they're getting clobbered. Their economy is in free fall. They have 250% inflation. Their money has no value. Their whole economic system is broken down. They thought they were going to outweight me. You know, we'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. Look what happened last night. That was the prelude to the midterms.
The Iranians are looking for the relief valve. Big steel companies in Iran are completely shut down. Israel blew them up, and paychecks are bouncing. Meanwhile, our economy, still the largest in the world. Our GDP, bigger than China, Germany, and India combined. Plus, now we're getting fresh batches of sweet crude from our new amigo.
Over 10 million barrels of Venezuelan oil have been delivered to the United States since the 3rd of January. That industry is being professionalized for the first time ever. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. They are selling oil in the market at market rates. The money's going to an account in the United States, controlled and monitored by Treasury, audited by KPMG. And it's for the first time ever, the money's not being stolen. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people.
Meanwhile, the Iranians can't get any oil out. 109 of their ships, they've been 180'd. The blockades cost them $20 billion and counting. Their ships are sanctioned and stuck. Iran needs the deal, and they're asking for a little moolah. We froze billions of their assets at the start of the war, and they want us to thaw out some of the bank accounts ASAP. But we're not giving them their allowance back if they don't follow orders.
Is the U.S. considering easing sanctions on Iran to allow Iran to sell its crude to market?
No, we're not talking about any easing of sanctions or giving money. No sanctions, no money, no nothing. We have control of money that they claim is theirs. We'll keep control of that money. When they behave properly and when they do what's right, we'll let them have their money. But right now, we're not doing that. And it's not, one thing is not contingent on the other.
The message from the White House is no dust, no deal. The Iranians only get their money after they open up the strait and blow up the uranium. But these Persians are squirrely. They're trying to put in the deal that they can control the strait with their neighbors on the other coast, Oman. Trump's like, that's a joke, right?
The strait's going to be open to everybody.
And who would control it?
It's international waters. Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up.
Oman's an ally, but if you turn into a pirate, we'll turn you into an enemy. The Russians and Chinese also want to help with the uranium. Trump says, stay in your corner.
Would you be comfortable with Russia or China taking their stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and have they offered to?
No, I wouldn't be.
The president wants to personally see.
Guys, that right there, okay? And we're going to dig into this when we watch the full clip, but
the deal too.
Wait.
And if they don't, there may be no deal.
Where's the pause?
We'd like to have that.
But that part right there, right? Where they ask President Trump, right? Because remember, a lot of people, especially the fake stream media and, all the people suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, they were all saying, oh, look, President Trump is going to China. This is appeasement. President Trump loves dictators, blah, blah, blah. Nothing is farther from the truth. And President Trump, and this is what a lot of people, not you guys, because, you guys are obviously very intelligent, and, you know what's going on. But for people who don't watch my geopolitical analysis, a lot of these people just, I don't know, they pretend like they're armchair experts pretty much. They pretend like they know what's going on. They see President Trump, shaking hands with Putin or Xi Jinping or, even the dictator of North Korea. And, he says, I respect them. Just because you respect someone doesn't mean that you like them, right? You respect their position. You respect the fact that they have authority or power or whatever the case may be, right? You can respect your enemy, but they're still your enemy. A lot of people mistake President Trump saying, yeah, this guy's, a strong person, or I respect them, or, whatever. And they just automatically assume that means that President Trump is saying, oh, I like this person. And that's because they don't have the cognitive ability to understand nuance, right? They also don't have the cognitive ability to understand how business works and how politics works, right? And so President Trump, first and foremost, is a businessman, and then he's a politician. And I think that's why he's actually a very successful politician, because he doesn't play by the political rules, right? He acts more like a businessman, right? He's someone who wants to, make deals. And when he takes that business-minded approach to politics, it catches a lot of these world leaders off guard. Because as you can see, right? Like President Trump went to Beijing and China pretty much rolled out the red carpet for him. And now, flat out, and and China probably thought, okay, like, oh, President Trump, like he's gonna, do whatever we want. Oh, maybe President Trump actually thinks that we're allies or something, right? And then but President Trump knows that China and Russia have a vested interest in keeping the Islamic regime alive. President Trump knows that China and Russia have been supporting the Islamic regime secretly behind the scenes. So now when, China and Russia come out and they're like, oh, maybe we can come help take the uranium, you could see President Trump just flat out, with no hesitation at all whatsoever, just flat out comes out and says no. Right? Watch
says stay in your corner.
Would you be comfortable with Russia?
A little bit.
The Russians and Chinese also want to help with the uranium. Trump says stay in your corner.
Would you be comfortable with Russia or China taking their stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and have they offered to do that?
No, I wouldn't be.
Like literally no hesitation whatsoever. He's like, nope, I would not be comfortable. Right? I mean, that pretty much sums up how President Trump views China and Russia, right? So anyone who is putting out these videos saying that President Trump loves dictators or, he's capitulating to China or Russia, they literally don't understand anything. And their geopolitical analysis is not worth the, I can't say paper it's written on because they're uploading videos to YouTube. Their geopolitical analysis isn't worth the YouTube channel it's posted on or whatever, something like that.
The president wants to personally see the uranium destroyed. And once that happens, we have a deal. But the president's throwing a curveball in the negotiations. He wants the Arab world to sign on to the deal too. And if they don't, there may be no deal.
You know what's really interesting, guys? If you look at my videos that I've posted recently on my YouTube channel, every single major topic is being discussed right now. And I pretty much analyzed all of this before, right? So here, let me show you guys. So on my YouTube channel, Goldie Unfiltered, right? That's just where I have like my videos there. So I talk about, President Trump arming the Iranians. Trump rejects latest Iran peace deal. Here's the one. Trump's China visit was not appeasement. It didn't get a lot of attention. It only has 26,000 views, but it's a very good analysis. You need to go, and I posted that 10 days ago. And then I have the calm before the storm. And then, Trump cornered Iran. Who controls Iran? That's a good one. This is the one. So 2 days ago, I made this video where I said Trump just demanded the entire Muslim world recognize Israel. And I also explain why this is controversial. So I gave this analysis literally 2 days ago, as soon as President Trump made that post. And now, 2 days later, it's being talked about on mainstream media and how explosive this actually is, right? So when you have a chance, go and watch that video, because I kind of I expand deeper into each and every single country. And even Senator Lindsey Graham, as we just saw when he was live on Sean Hannity, he spoke about how influential Saudi Arabia is. And if Saudi Arabia signs on, then, that's sending a signal to the rest of the Muslim world. But anyways.
Taking their stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and have they offered to do that?
No, I wouldn't be.
The president wants to personally see the uranium destroyed. And once that happens, we have a deal. But the president's throwing a curveball in the negotiations. He wants the Arab world to sign on to the deal too. And if they don't, there may be no deal.
We'd like to have them immediately join and Steve Witkoff is working on that with Jared and some others, but would like to have them join the Abraham Accords. It'll be historic if they do it. And I think they owe that to us, to be honest. I think, because that really would be a tremendous sign. And I think those countries owe it to us. I'm not sure we should make the deal if they don't sign. You want to know the truth?
Scott Mann's a retired lieutenant colonel, former Green Beret, and co-founder of Task Force Pineapple. Okay, the latest strikes, I guess, against some drones and some drone launchers. Tell me what you think about that.
Hey, Jesse, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I mean, I think it's shaping operations, right? And they are probably exactly what they said, defensive in nature. You know, I think what Iran is going to probably try to do is they're going to try to retain as much of an asymmetric advantage as they can. You know, they're going to try to do everything they can to use missile strikes, drone strikes, the minimum force necessary to just keep things disrupted or even closed, in the straits. And that's going to be their play. It's kind of their only play as it dwindles down here. But the question is, what kind of resilience and redundancy do they have in place to, weather this out and ride this out?
All right, so they're going to be a nuisance to gain any leverage in the negotiation. The Strait, they want to still toll it. They're trying to cut some deal with their neighbors in the south. Do you think they're going to be able to pull that off?
There's a lot of political pressure that would make that a very unattractive deal, as was just talked about. I think the other thing to probably keep an eye on would be the Houthis. Are they able to bring the pressure into the Red Sea? That could be a game changer if they're able to do that asymmetric application with drones there and some kind of surgical strikes to block shipping, especially with that being kind of the redundant area now that it's moving to. But honestly, Iran has played this game, Jesse, for decades. What they're going to try to they're going to be duplicitous in this negotiation.
That's exactly what I've been saying forever. Like this is the entire strategy of the Islamic regime: delay, especially when there's a strong leader who's the commander-in-chief of the United States, and then basically delay until the Democrats come back into power, and then they use that the time when the Democrats are in power to build up their nuclear military strength, right?
They're going to buy time and they're going to fight for any capability they can retain to just be a nuisance, to do asymmetric strikes, and to keep us enough at bay so that we don't reach a full deal and they don't have to give up that dust. That's the way they're going to play it. And, they've got a pretty good track record of doing that.
So the rumor is that these latest mine-laying operations with the Mosquito fleet, these latest volley of drones, these are rogue Guard commanders. They're disconnected. There's no command and control. They're just acting on their own volition. I mean, how do you control that? I mean, the Iranian negotiators can't even control it. How do we?
Well, that's the problem with asymmetric warfare is you don't. I mean, the thing where I'm a little bit reluctant, and you'll just have to excuse some of my skepticism, is, I watched us fight a 20-year war in Afghanistan, and every 6 months when the generals would rotate home, they would testify to Congress that the Taliban were greatly fractured and the end was near. And so, we have a 2-decade historical precedent, at least in that region, where we got to be careful about how we characterize our competitive advantage in what is largely right now kind of a traditional fight. And we just need to remember that Iran is very good at network-centric warfare. They can bring, pain in a range of places, and they probably have some level of presence even in the United States under the last administration's porous borders. So we just need to be careful about getting too overconfident in how we signal this.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. A deal could be imminent. That's what Rubio said, and we'll follow it closely. Scott, thank you so much. Be sure.
A deal could be imminent. I have a feeling that that's not exactly the case. Because again, we've seen strikes in southern Iran, in Bandar Abbas. Someone's like, Tom, can we see some American commercials? I want to check out the new grills. Oh my gosh, too funny. I don't know, like some American barbecue commercial? Nah. But now we're gonna go to what I have been dying to watch all day. again, former politician, the political nerd in me, this is the full video of President Trump's cabinet meeting from earlier today. Now, of course, I'm going to skip through the parts that are not about Iran, but I'm curious to watch the whole thing, because when you watch the whole thing, that gives you a much better analysis, especially when you're looking at body language, different things. So I'm going to break it down for you and give you the Goldie analysis there. But before we go to that, let me just go to the rest of the super chats before I forget, and then we'll continue with the live stream. Jeff Lee commented, Tally Frico going down in my Texas, not worried. Yeah, so Texas, vote Republican. Also, I'm not going to lie, guys. I get very confused for a moment when I see Americans like vote red, right? Because the colors are reversed. In Canada, the right is represented by the color blue, and the left is represented by the color red. In the United States, it's the opposite, right? The Republicans are represented by the color red, and the Democrats are represented by the color blue. So the Canadian in me, like whenever I see these election results or whatever on American state TV, whenever I see like a block of red, like my initial reaction is to like panic. And then I'm like, oh wait, no, wait, this is America. This is America. It's the land of the upside down. It's America with the weird imperial system. Sorry, metric system. Whatever. You guys use feet and yards and inches, and it's weird. And you use pounds. That's weird. So yeah, America, the land of the weird units, like Fahrenheit instead of Celsius, and inches instead of centimeters, and yeah, even your like political parties are reversed in color. So there you go. The weird upside down world. What's a kilometer? A kilometer is 1,000 meters, right? Because kilo is a Greek word for 1,000. So kilometer is 1,000 meters. What the heck is up with your inches and yards? What, like 12 inches is a foot? And then what, like 3 feet is a yard or something? Like, how does it even work? Like, the Canadian system is so much better. Yeah, the metric system is so much better because it's all like divided by units of 10, right? 10 millimeters, 1 centimeter. 100 centimeters, 1 meter. 1,000 meters, 1 kilometer. But you guys are like, I don't know, 1 inch is like 12 inches is 1 foot. And then you guys have like pounds instead of grams and kilograms. I don't know, man. Yeah. I'm just riling you guys up on purpose. I know. But anyways, all that to say, yeah. So when I see like all the red, I'm like, my initial reaction is just to panic. I'm like, oh my gosh, because in Canada, red represents the Liberals. But then I remind myself, oh wait, red is Republican. So there you go. But yeah, everyone vote red in Texas. If you're in Canada, vote blue. But if you're in the United States, vote red. Chase says, let's rename Khomeini International Airport to Ghamari International. No, absolutely not. So here's an interesting thing. Let me just bring it up for you. So if you actually did not know, prior to 1979, because guys, remember, Iran's history did not begin in 1979. And prior to the Islamic coup d'etat of 1979, the international airport in Tehran was actually named Aryameh International Airport. Do you guys know who Aryameh is? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the live stream. Who's Aryameh? So this is Aryamer, the previous Shah of Iran, the father of the current Shah of Iran. So our airport, the real name of our airport is Aryamer International Airport. Just like, everything else when it comes to the communists and the woke progressive left and, the jihadis and, the invaders, they love to rename things. They love it, right? Because it's all about historical revisionism. It's all about the erasure of identity and culture. It's actually happening in Canada at a rapid rate. They're literally renaming universities. They're renaming streets. They're renaming metro stations or whatever. Like these, random communists come in, and it's all about like DEI and virtue signaling and whatever the case might be. They're basically demonizing Canada's history, right? So yeah, and what I'm seeing happening in Canada right now, this is scary. As an Iranian, this is scary because we've already seen this happen in our own country. And they've renamed so many things to like Khomeini, Khabar Margesh, Palestine. They've literally taken like so many streets and squares and they've renamed it to Palestine Square, right? Palestine Square. What the heck does Palestine have to do with an ancient non-Muslim civilization, right? So again, this is how the foreign occupiers come and they take over, right? They change your flag. They change your street names. They change the building names. They change the institution names. They change it all, right? So thank you for the super chat, but we're not going to rename anything to Ghamari International. What I can guarantee you that what's going to happen is as soon as the Islamic regime is overthrown, we are going to reclaim the proper and original names of every single one of these locations that has some sort of Durka jihadi name, because those are the names of the foreign invaders. And they're not even the ones who built these places. So 100% when Iran is free, we will rename our international airport. We're going to reclaim the original name, which is Aryamer International Airport. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait to land in Aryamer International Airport in a free Iran. Okay. Okay, yes, I did try the olive oil. I only had a third of that. So Adam says, I saw a video on Instagram of a man in Vancouver being stopped by the police psychologist for his mental psych evaluation. Canada is getting scary. Yeah, Canada's becoming a pretty wild place. William Marsh says, Goldie always calls them as she sees them. That is true. I do. Push-ups. What's Rubio doing in Armenia? Is it Iran related? Yes and no. I mean, Rubio probably went to Armenia, maybe just to give them a heads up, because Armenia has sort of been close with, like, the Armenian government has been close with the Islamic regime. But a lot of these countries have to be close by necessity because it's a matter of survival for them. My understanding is, the trip to Armenia was basically more to focus on, trade and, like securing that relationship and all that. I have a feeling that there were conversations about Iran, because I'm sure a lot of countries in the region are probably feeling a little uneasy because everyone sees the writing on the wall, which is regime change. So I probably have a feeling Rubio went there to kind of maybe talk about that a little bit. Kind of how, President Trump went to China to basically tell Beijing exactly what's going to happen with Iran and basically tell Beijing to stay out of it. So I think with the trip to Armenia, it's probably a little bit more friendly. President Trump actually also posted about it on Truth Social, and he said he actually had a very nice comment about Armenia. Let me bring that up for you guys. So here you go. So Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan of Armenia, a great friend and leader, is making his country strong, wealthy, and very secure. Nikol completely shares my vision of peace and prosperity for Armenia and the entire South Caucasus region. Our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, just traveled to Armenia, where he advanced several important deals for both our countries. Soon, the United States and Armenia will break ground together on the Trump route for international peace and prosperity, which will transform the South Caucasus and help our wonderful American energy companies gain access from Central Asia all the way to the United States. So we're talking pipelines. For these reasons, Nikol has my complete and total endorsement for re-election on June 7, 2026. With Nikol's help, we will bring the United States, Armenia, the South Caucasus, and Central Asia to greater heights than ever before. Make Armenia great again. MAGA, President Donald J. Trump. Kind of a cute post. So, yeah, that's pretty much why he went to Armenia. Okay. All right. Let me go to the few more super chats, and then we're going to go to this White House press conference. So Shannon says, what do you want us to do? Measure in hamburgers? Honestly, Shannon, measuring in hamburgers to me makes more sense than measuring in inches and yards. At least like a hamburger, you kind of know how thick the hamburger is, right? So, if someone says, oh, this thing, is 10 hamburgers long, I can at least visualize that. I can't visualize like a foot. So yeah, measure in hamburgers. No, I'm joking. I'm just teasing you guys. Push-ups. I'll tell you what a kilometer is. Un-American. Whoa. Guys, all right. You guys can stick to your imperial system. All good. Guys, this is going to be a war we'll never win. That's fine. This is a battle. You know what? We're just going to have to, you know what? Guys, let's just call a ceasefire. Ceasefire pending the outcome of negotiations. How about that? The Real Spec says Mark Levin will be on Sean Hannity's podcast tomorrow. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, thank you for that. I'll check that out for sure. Mark Dennis Fritz says, thank you for the lessons today, Goldie Ghamari Aziz. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're very welcome. Chase Kirilenko says, the mullahs took note of the USSR erasing history. Yeah, absolutely. The Islamic regime literally took the playbook, literally took the Russian communist playbook, 100%, which is a shame. But you know what? It's actually not surprising because Khomeini and a lot of Khomeini's supporters were actually trained and funded by the Soviets, right? So Jimmy Carter, so here's the thing. The reason that Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, the idiotic peanut farmer, supported the Ayatollah, the pedophile Ayatollah, is because Jimmy Carter was somehow convinced that in order to protect the rest of the world from the communists, they needed to create a religious belt. And so that religious belt would, be sort of the barrier because, communism and religion supposedly don't mix. However, Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, and all his, Democrats were so idiotic and stupid that they didn't realize that the one thing that communists and Islamists have in common is their mutual hatred for the West. And so That's called the unholy alliance of the red and the black. And the unholy alliance of the red and the black, that alliance between, communists, Marxists, and, the woke progressive left, and the Islamic jihadis, right? That was actually coined by the Shah of Iran, right? This very smart, very distinguished gentleman, the previous Shah of Iran, Shahanshah Ariamer, he coined that term, the unholy alliance of the red and the black. Now some people in the United States call it the unholy alliance of the, green and red and green or something, right? And they pretend like they invented this concept. No, the Shah of Iran was talking about the unholy alliance of the red and the black back in the 60s. Okay, he was literally 70 years ahead of his time because he knew back then the dangers of Islamism and communism. And Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, may he burn in hell, he thought that the religious Ayatollah would actually be a better ally for the United States instead of the guy that literally gave the United States oil in 1973 when all the Arab Muslim countries refused to, right? Like, how idiotic, like, how stupid can, that's the other thing. The Islamic coup d'etat happened in 1979. The Arab oil embargo happened in 1973. So in 1973, the Arab Muslim countries refused to give the United States oil because the United States was supporting Israel, okay? And the Arab Muslim countries didn't like that. 6 years later, Jimmy Carter, the idiotic peanut farmer, had this genius idea that Iran would be a better ally if the Shah of Iran, the only person who was providing oil to the United States when all the Arab countries were not because of Islam, and the Shah was not an Islamic person, right? He was a normal, modern, secular, democratic statesperson. Jimmy Carter thought that replacing the only ally of the United States with another, Islamic jihadi ideology would serve America's interests better. And here we are today. But yeah. And by the way, Khomeini and all of his supporters, a lot of their ideology comes from the Soviets, because in fact, the Soviets were secretly behind the scenes pushing for the Islamic regime to take over, because the Shah of Iran was a staunch anti-communist, and the Shah of Iran had actually banned communism in Iran because he recognized the danger that communism and that communist ideology posed. And keep in mind, back in the 70s, Iran shared a border with the USSR, right? So let me pull up the map. Right? So here you go. So during the 1970s, Iran, as you can see, like literally, Iran was the gatekeeper between the USSR and the rest of the world, like the rest of the world over here. That's why the Shah of Iran had banned communism, because you see here, that's where Armenia is. Armenia, Georgia, like all these countries right now, they didn't exist before because they were overtaken by the communists. The Shah of Iran saw what was happening to all these other countries, including Armenia and, Kazakhstan and, all these other places. What's that? Oh, Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is up here as well, right? So Azerbaijan on this side, Armenia on this side, right? All taken over by the Soviets. They'd all fallen under the Iron Curtain. And the Shah of Iran, that's literally why he banned communism, because the communists were being funded and trained by the Soviets to try and destabilize Iran so that Iran could fall under the Iron Curtain. Unfortunately, they were not successful. Or sorry, not unfortunately. Fortunately, they weren't successful when the Shah was around. But unfortunately, they were able to infiltrate Islamist jihadi elements and basically say, let's unite on our anti-America hatred. Why do you think that prior to 1979, Iran was an ally of the United States? But then after 1979, when the Islamic regime took over, Iran became, or the Islamic regime, I should say, the Islamic regime occupying Iran was an ally of the USSR, right? So Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, thought that by turning Iran into an Islamic religious fundamentalist third world theocratic hellhole governed by Sharia law, that this would somehow create a religious belt that would prevent the spread of communism. Yeah. And that's why Jimmy Carter and the Democrats have the blood of countless thousands of Americans on their hand. They have the blood of countless millions of people around the world on their hands, including the blood of the Iranian people, because we Iranians have been suffering for that idiotic decision by Jimmy Carter back in the late 1970s. Which again, I find absolutely mind-boggling because literally 6 years prior to that, the only country willing to give oil to the United States and the only country not involved in the Arab oil embargo was Iran. I mean, obviously we're not Arab, so we would never be part of some like jihadi, Muslim coalition to, attack the United States and Israel, right? Because that's just not us Iranians. Jimmy Carter, you would think he would know that. Like that was only 6 years ago. It wasn't like that long ago from 1979. And yet here we are today. But yeah. Okay. Few more super chats and then we will get to President Trump's cabinet meeting because I really, really want to watch that. Okay, so Artin says, let me just share the tab here so I don't forget. Okay, so Artin says, do you think Trump is using negotiations just to buy more time and making sure they have a good plan to attack the Islamic regime even harder? That could be part of it. I mean, I don't know, but it's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't put it past him because, ultimately President Trump, he is a winner and President Trump wants to make sure that all the pieces are aligned. So, yeah, I do believe that. And when we watched the cabinet meeting today, you can see that rhetoric in the language. Like the language is very, very strong. President Trump has made it very clear that if the operations resume, it's going to be even stronger and more intense than before. William Marsh says, what would we do without Goldie? Probably go to Tusi. Yeah, I mean, I watch Tusi's live streams all the time. Tusi's fantastic. Guys, everyone, if you're not already doing so, make sure that you're subscribed to Tusi TV because he is fantastic and he gives all the latest and breaking, right? So yeah, make sure that you subscribe to Tusi TV. He's got all the latest. As you can see, he just streamed 2 hours ago, explosion in Tehran. Yesterday, US strikes in Tehran. So yeah, you definitely want to watch 2C TV. I do. I think 2C is fantastic. And everyone needs to go follow him. He's one of the very few reliable breaking news sources on Iran in English. We don't have a lot of those. So 2C is a gem. He's also really nice. He's super funny too. Okay. Bo F2 says, the guy in this profile pic sure is handsome. Couldn't resist. Thanks. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who that guy is, but yeah, sure. Thank you. Gummy Senpai says, hi, new fan here. Thank you for your coverage analysis. I have been learning about Iran and Middle East history for years. As a converted leftist since youth, please keep fighting against these Islamists and commies. Free Iran. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And don't worry about the converted left part. You know, there's like this saying that goes, if you're not on the left when you're young, you don't have a heart. And if you're not on the right when you're older, you don't have a brain. So generally everyone kind of starts out on sort of the left because, you know, just the narrative and the rhetoric from the left, it just seems like so amazing and so good, right? Like, I mean, when I was younger, you know, we're talking like 20 years ago now, you know, I was totally like left leaning, and like I think even at one point I voted for like the Green Party or something. I don't know, like it was just, I didn't know. I was just like, oh, we need to save the environment, right? Like we need to tax people to save the environment. And that's before I actually knew anything about the economy or anything like that. And then, you know, as I got older and then, you know, I went to law school and, you know, became, you know, kind of learned how the world worked. I was like, oh my gosh, like everything that like these leftist parties have been sharing is just, it's wild. It's basically communism, right? So yeah, eventually, you know, I got a brain, and, you know, I would say probably like I was around, I think I was like 24 or 25 when I pretty much became like a staunch conservative. So yeah, like the first 6 years of like my voting life, so from like the age of 18 to about 24, I was like pretty much like a lefty. And then around 24, I became a conservative. So yeah, it's just kind of how it goes. Treetop Music says, I don't even like olives normally. However, I support my local Persian restaurant. And why are your olives so amazing? So that's because northern Iran is like this lush subtropical rainforesty type area. And we have the best olives. Sorry, Greek people. I know, like the Greeks and the Persians get into this fight all the time because Greek people say that they have the best olives. Guys, I've been to Greece, and yes, your olives are phenomenal, delicious, right? So good. Like you cannot go wrong with Greek olives. However, Iranian olives are something else. We literally have olive stores, okay, where it's a store and it's just different kinds of olives. And I love olives. I love Iranian olives. Why are they so good? I don't know, because Iranian olives are the best in the world. Similar to how Iranian pomegranates are the best in the world. By the way, if you guys didn't know, pomegranates actually originate from Iran. That's why we have the best pomegranates as well. But yeah, there you go. So I don't know, man. Oh gosh, like this is just making my mouth water now. Like now I'm craving olives. This is not good. But look at this. Could you just imagine going into a store and it's all literally just like different kinds of olives, and like prepared in different ways with like different herbs and spices and whatever. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, saffron's another big one. Pomegranates, olives, saffron. Oh man, my mouth is watering now. Now I want olives. Jeez. Anyways, thank you for that comment. Okay. And last super chat before we go to President Trump's cabinet meeting. Push-Up says, I don't think that's accurate. I can't find a source for that claim about Carter thought Islam would block communism. Most former Carter admin officials report basically a Vietnam syndrome of self-doubt. Okay. That's because the Carter officials are backtracking and they're basically trying to legitimize the reason for why they made that idiotic mistake. But when you speak to a lot of other analysts, and I'll see if I can find this for next time. Like I've spoken about this before, and I've shared some references. I don't have it on hand right now, but like Jimmy Carter thought that he was going to create a religious belt, and one of the main reasons Jimmy Carter supported the Ayatollah was because it was confirmed to him that the Ayatollah is not a communist. And everyone thought that, a religious belt, or Jimmy Carter anyway, thought a religious belt could block communism from spreading, because communism and, religion are inherently clash. However, communism and Islamism work very well together until one side ends up booming the other side. But I'll see if I can find that for another time. Okay, let's go to the cabinet meeting now, because I've been meaning to watch this cabinet meeting all day. I will skip through the parts that are not about Iran, so just bear with me, please.
We have a lot of very happy people around the table because we're a great team. It's been a...
Oh, okay, sorry. One more really quick. So Mike says, thanks for everything you do. I have learned so much, and I like the little bit of wild thing hair today. It looks great. Blessings for a free Iran. Thank you. Yeah, guys, I mean, this is just like my natural hair. I don't really strain it anymore because now we're getting into the summer, and, the summer season, it's sort of, hot and humid. And even if I was going to strain my hair, it would get frizzy anyways. So it's not like wild hair. It's just, this is just like my natural hair. It's just curly, right? So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. This is like summer Goldie, because you guys have all been dealing with winter Goldie, right? Winter Goldie was like, October, November, December, and now we're into the summer. So my hairstyle changes with the seasons, I guess. What do I say? But yeah, thank you. And I'm glad that you've learned a lot from my channel and the videos. It's what I try to do. And of course, the reason I share all this is to make sure that after you watch a video, I can say, and now you know. And on that note, let's go to the cabinet meeting now.
We have a lot of very happy people around the table because we're a great team. It's been a tremendous period of time for our country, and things are going very well. Number of jobs, we have more people working today than we've ever had before in the history of our country, and many other things. And I have a few words to say to you that I think will be helpful. Last night was incredible, not only Texas, but so many other places. And the numbers were fantastic, and they've really been that way for a year. If you look, it's hundreds of people won, and almost nobody didn't win. So, but last night was very, very powerful. So I'm thrilled to welcome everyone to the 12th cabinet meeting of our administration, and we're doing something that no administration's ever done. We're always letting the press join us because we're very open and transparent. You like the word transparent, but we're more transparent than any administration in history. No, to the best of my knowledge, press has never been invited ever to a cabinet meeting for any reason at all. And tonight,
guys, pay attention to who is on either side of President Trump, right? The two most hawkish people on the Islamic regime, Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio, right? This is important because in these sorts of meetings, the president and his team, right? And let's say, president in the United States, but, for example, in Canada, it's the prime minister, or if it's provincial, like the premier, whoever's like at the top, right? The person at the top and their administrative team around them, they decide who sits where, right? So it's not like people just randomly sit wherever they want to. So at cabinet meetings, people's seats are designated. So there's a seating chart and a seating layout. And President Trump's team determines who sits next to him and, the order of the seating. So this is a very deliberate choice, especially with the camera framing, right? And they could have chosen, right? Like the White House could have chosen, while President Trump is speaking, to just zoom in on him and just have the camera frame him. But the fact that the camera framing includes Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio, and let me just go see, like, if you look throughout the entire thing, right? Like I'm just fast forwarding ahead really quickly. Like if you look throughout the entire thing, every single time President Trump is speaking, there's always Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth in the shot, in the frame, right? It's never President Trump alone. That is really important because when you look at a lot of these sort of meetings or statements or press conferences or whatever, oftentimes the leader, whoever it is, the framing is just on them. Like the camera zooms in because they want that person to be the center of attention and the focus. But the fact that President Trump's team has made a deliberate choice to include both Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth in the camera frame at all times, like that's not by accident. That is a deliberate choice. Okay? So I just wanted to point that out as well. Okay.
We have a lot of very happy people around the table because we're a great team. It's been a tremendous period of time for our country, and things are going very well. Number of jobs, we have more people working today than we've ever had before in the history of our country, and many other things. And I have a few words to say to you that I think will be helpful. Last night was incredible, not only Texas, but so many other places. And the number.
Yeah, for people asking about the vice president, I believe he sits right opposite of President Trump. So JD Vance is on the opposite side of President Trump. That's just how it works. It's that's just the norm. That's not like a political statement or anything like that. Like that's not a diss on JD Vance or nothing like that. JD Vance always sits right across from President Trump because it's the president on one side and the vice president on the other.
Were fantastic, and they've really been that way for a year. If you look, it's hundreds of people won, and almost nobody didn't win. So, but last night was very, very powerful. So I'm thrilled to welcome everyone to the 12th cabinet meeting of our administration, and we're doing something that no administration's ever done. We're always letting the press join us because we're very open and transparent. You like the word transparent?
Wait, was Vance on the other side of Hegseth? No, I don't think Vance was on the other side of Pete Hegseth. Vance would be opposite President Trump. All right, well, let's wait for a zoom out and see where that is. Because if JD Vance was like on this side of Pete Hegseth, that would be weird because JD Vance is always across from President Trump. Maybe you're mistaking someone else with JD Vance because JD Vance would be opposite President Trump.
We're more transparent than any administration in history. No, to the best of my knowledge, press has never been invited ever to a cabinet meeting for any reason at all. And it's an honor to have you. This team has achieved more than most other administrations achieve in 8 years. We took the most dangerous, unsafe, violent, and open border in the world. Anywhere in the world, there's no border like the border we had, and created the most secure border in the history of our country. We had no people, 12 months now, no people reported in the last 12 months came in illegally. 0 illegal aliens admitted to the United States in the last 12 months. And those charts are made by, you would say, politically unfriendly people. And the reason they don't come in is because nobody comes up, because they know that they're going to be turned away. And if they get in, they're going to be moved out right away. So it's been 0. You're the one that do the reports. I'm actually surprised by the number because I don't know how it can be 0, but they say it's 0 for the last 12 months. In 2025, we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded. So the murder rate was quite high, and we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded to the lowest level in 125 years. That's the year 1900. And that's despite the fact that many people came in from prisons and from very rough countries and from mental institutions and from lots of other places, drug dealers and others. They came in illegally during the Biden administration. We've gotten many of them out, but we still have some that we're looking for, quite a few that we're still looking for, but we've gotten over 11,888 murders were allowed into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. We've gotten some, we put them in jail. We don't even trust the country to send them because they'll come back in maybe. We put them in jail.
Okay, I know this is interesting, but I do want to get to the Iran part. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. Actually, probably the best way to do this is to, if I go to the transcript. Here, let me go to the transcript. Okay. Venezuela. Oh, okay, we're getting there momentarily. Here we go. Thank you, YouTube, for the transcript feature. Okay.
Right there now. And the average 401k, and that's despite the conflict. I don't call it a war, I call it a conflict. Despite the conflict with Venezuela, who no longer has a Navy, no longer has an Air Force, no longer has a lot of people that were leading the country into very bad places. Wait,
was that Venezuela or Iran?
Leadership is gone. Their second rung leadership is gone, and we're dealing with their third, half of their third, because half of their third is gone too.
I think he might have misspoken there because I think he meant Iran, not Venezuela. Wait.
Single family got tax refunds of nearly almost close to $5,000. The stock.
It can't be both. It can't be both because he didn't actually go after Venezuela's like Navy or Air Force or anything like that. So it was probably just like probably like whoever was writing his notes down or something, they just like put a typo in there.
Market has set 68 all-time record highs since the election. So 68 days, we hit all-time highs. We're right there now. And the average 401k.
Guys, okay, President Trump is not having a boomer moment. That doesn't happen. Guys, listen, there have been situations where, you know, back when I was an elected official and my staff prepared a script for me, you know, once in a while they would make a mistake. And because I'm reading what they've put out for me, right? Because I trust them. So there have been times where like I've read something and it's only after I've read it that I'm like, oh my gosh, that is incorrect. But what can you do? You just kind of move on with it, right? So that's not a boomer moment because you can see he's literally going off of the notes that his admin team prepared for him.
And that's despite the conflict. I don't call it a war, I call it a conflict. Despite the conflict with Venezuela, who no longer has a Navy, no longer has an Air Force, no longer has a lot of people that were leading the country into very bad places. Their leadership is gone.
Iran.
Their second rung leadership is gone, and we're dealing with their third, half of their third, because half of their third is gone too. The average 401k is up.
Can we just comment for a moment on how? Can I just say, look at this? Look at Pete Hegseth like drinking coffee or tea from that really fancy mug. That is just so funny, in like a good way, not in like a bad way. But look at that. Look at that. Isn't he like a? He's like a Marine. He's like an ex-Marine or something, right? No, he wasn't. He wasn't a Marine. He served. He was in the U.S. Army National Guard. Okay, but anyway, so it's just so funny seeing him like. Look at this. He's looking at the coffee mug. He's looking at the coffee mug, and he's like, the little like fancy teacup, and he's like, what is this fancy thing? He's probably like wondering, how can I drink coffee from this without like crushing it in my hand, right? So it's just really cute.
A lot of people that were leading the country into very bad places. Their leadership is gone. Their second rung leadership is gone.
He's probably like, do I hold it by the handle? And, like, he's like, I guarantee you, he's probably looking at that, like, fancy teacup, and he's like, if I hold it by the like dainty handle, it'll probably break or something, right? So, oh man. Oh yeah, JD Vance. JD Vance is the Marine. You're right. JD Vance is the Marine. But look at him. Look at the moment of like, he's just so conflicted. He's like, how do I drink this without crushing the delicate teacup?
War, I call it a conflict. Despite the
it's just very cute in like a fun way. Guys, I notice these things. It's just funny.
Conflict with Venezuela, who no longer has a Navy, no longer has an Air Force, no longer has a lot of people that were leading the country into very bad places. Their leadership is gone. Their second rung leadership is gone, and we're dealing with their third, half of their third, because half of their third is gone too. The average 401k is up almost $30,000 since I took office. So the Americans are benefiting working today. We have the most working, and we have 401ks at their all-time high, highest they've ever been. And that goes along with the stock market, which is the highest it's ever been. Under my most favored nation agreements, this is something that I wish the media would talk about, because to me, it's one of the biggest things ever to happen in our country. Certainly as to medical, anything having to do with medical, because drug prices, we're delivering record-setting discounts on prescription drugs with price differences of $400, $500.
Okay, so now we're getting the price description, drugs versus whatever it is. Okay, let's go to the next part. Lowest drug prices in the world. Okay. Dr. Oz, Trump RX. Okay, here we go. Now here's where we get into Iran. Okay. This is the Iran part.
Industry ever, maybe. Ever. And the press doesn't even want to write stories about it. We made the largest ever investment in U.S. military, $1 trillion, and we're asking actually for $1.5 trillion for the coming year. And we have the strongest military anywhere in the world, as you know. You saw what we did with Venezuela. That worked out very quickly. And we're doing really equally as well with, but again, people don't want to write about it, with Iran. Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So far, they haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with it, but we will be. We will be either that or we'll have to just finish the job. But their Navy is gone, as
And President Trump, we want you to finish the job, please. Just if you're watching this, you're probably not. If anyone from the White House is watching this, please just finish the job. Just boom, boom them, destroy them. You know it's the right thing to do. You know it's the right call. Just please get rid of them. Get rid of them. And you will have the biggest ally in the Middle East, aside from Israel, back.
I've said 1,000 times, their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we have to go back and finish it. Maybe we don't.
Go back and finish it. Go back and finish it. That's what Iranians want. I can tell you. Go back and finish it.
Right now, I mean, you can speak to Steve Witkoff and Jared. They're doing a good job. But right now, I think it looks like they want to just make a deal. They have. I don't think they have a choice.
So the reason that the Islamic regime wants to make a deal is because they basically just want to try and outlast President Trump's term, right? Because the Islamic regime is thinking strategically. They're thinking, if we can survive 3 years of President Trump, then, the Democrats might come back into power, and the Democrats are very Islamic regime friendly, right? So the IRGC, that's why they want to make a deal, not the deal that President Trump wants. They want to make like an appeasement deal, right? Because that has been their survival tactic politically for the last 47 years.
Just going back to the internet because they're getting clobbered. Their economy is in free fall. They have 250% inflation. Their money has no value. Their whole economic system is broken down. They thought they were going to outweight me. We'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. Look what happened last night. That was the prelude to the midterms. People understand it. They know that. Very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm doing that for the world. I'm not doing it just for us. And we've had great support from other nations, by the way. We don't need it at all, but we've had great support from other nations. The problem is you always get the support when you don't need it. When you need it, you don't get the support. With Operation Epic Fury, our warriors are ensuring that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror never obtains a nuclear weapon, and they won't. Under the leadership of Vice President J.D. Vance, very proud of this, the White House Task Force to eliminate fraud is waging war on waste, fraud, theft, and abuse like nobody's ever seen before. He looks like Elliot Ness. Do you ever see Elliot Ness? I'm telling you, the guys that are up there with all central casting, they're standing behind. What a group of people. No, it looks like a movie. I'm going to make a movie out of it, I think. And they're finding billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I just said, that's good. He said, you haven't seen anything yet. Just said that. And, if he does really great, we'll have a balanced budget without having to do anything. This is the kind of money they stole. They're crooks. They're thieves. And I hope that Todd is going to do a real job. These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. Just talking about one person, he got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing 1 minute.
Okay, so let's see where the next part about Iran comes in. Oh, Ilhan Omar and World War XI. You guys need to do something about Ilhan Omar. Oh, right? All right. Like that fraud. That fraud by the Somalians in Michigan? It's Michigan, right? That's crazy. They're not even the biggest population in in the United States, and look at the billions of dollars of fraud. It's wild. Oh, you want me to play it? All right. Okay, yeah, I can play the whole thing. I mean, I was going to fast forward to the part about Iran, but if you guys want me to play the whole thing uninterrupted, yeah, Minnesota. Okay. All right. Yeah, I could just play the whole thing. No worries.
He looks like Elliot Ness. Do you ever see Elliot Ness? I'm telling you, the guys that are up there with all central casting, they're standing behind. What a group of people. No, it looks like a movie. I'm going to make a movie out of it, I think. And they're finding billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I just said, that's good. He said, you haven't seen anything yet. Just said that. And, if he does really great, we'll have a balanced budget without having to do anything. This is the kind of money they stole. They're crooks. They're thieves. And I hope that Todd is going to do a real job. These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. I'm just talking about one person. He got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing one man, for taking care of one elderly man. He was a service. He got paid millions of dollars for taking care of one man. Total crook. They're all crooks. The Somalians, what they've done to Minnesota, the Somalians, they're crooked as hell. Ilhan Omar, crooked as hell. They're all crooks. And we got them. We got them. Now we're putting the clamps on. But boy, I tell you, that's an impressive group of guys that you have behind you. I was watching that, and a couple of very strong women too. But I was watching that last night. I said, I'm proud of you guys. In 2 months, we've exposed tens of billions of dollars of defrauded taxpayer money, prosecuted numerous fraudsters, Todd, and stopped billions of suspicious payments, very suspicious. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet? Well, you see, I'm getting reports from Todd, from JD. I've never seen anything like it. The kind of just hundreds of billions of dollars was stolen. And no other administration would do what we're doing. They'd let it go. Everybody was getting rich. And I think we have a chance to save Social Security without doing anything to it by just the numbers of fraudulent people on Social Security, people that are 115 years old, 125 years old.
That's wild. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, like I've kind of, looked into it in my spare time, and like my understanding is that people immigrated to Minnesota because Minnesota had like this very very amazing welfare state. And because Minnesota was literally just like all white people, white Americans, it was a very sort of like high trust society, right? So the welfare system was built around this concept of you're not going to abuse the system, you're just going to be a good person. And then my understanding is that apparently like word got around to like the Somalians and the Somali, one Somali family immigrated there and then realized how easy it was to take advantage of the system. And then word just spread. And then like everyone from like Somalia just immigrated to Minnesota. Because like Minnesota's just such a random state, right? And I don't mean that as an insult to Minnesota. I just mean it in the sense of like it's a random state, right? Like why Minnesota of all places, right? Like when you look at Minnesota on the map, right? I mean, there's Minnesota, right? Like there's, Minnesota, when people think of like United States, they usually think of like, like New York, or I don't know, LA, or, California, Florida, Texas, right? Like, Washington, right? Boston, maybe, even like Colorado, because it's got the Rockies and stuff, right? Nevada, Arizona, right? Like Minnesota, like, and this is not like, it's not like an insult. I'm just saying like, it's just so strange that all of a sudden, like all the Somalis just started immigrating to Minnesota. And apparently, like some people are saying, the reason that they immigrated to Minnesota is because of the pre-existing welfare system in Minnesota. And it was based on this sort of high trust societal norms. And these Somalians were coming in, and that's not a high trust society. It's literally not. I mean, look at their country. The country is literally a failed state. There's a reason that, there are Somali pirates everywhere. But anyway, so, they all come in and they start taking advantage of the system to the point where now President Trump is basically saying like this one guy like defrauded millions of dollars just for taking care of like one person. Like, that's wild. That's crazy. Oh, wait. I forgot to change my screen. Let me go back here. Like, this is crazy. Billion. Guys, in 10 years, they've defrauded billions of dollars of taxpayer money.
Have defrauded taxpayer money, prosecuted numerous fraudsters, Todd, and stopped billions of suspicious payments, very suspicious. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet? Well, you see, I'm getting reports from Todd, from JD. I've never seen anything like it. The kind of just hundreds of billions of dollars was stolen. And no other administration would do what we're doing. They'd let it go. Everybody was getting rich. And I think we have a chance to save Social Security without doing anything to it by just the numbers of fraudulent people on Social Security, people that are 115 years old, 125 years old, getting payments. It's funny. I said, "Oh, do those payments get turned back?" No, they accept them. Well, somebody's getting the payment. It's not a person that's 125 years old. But that's the least of it. The numbers that we're finding out, we have great people at Social Security. We're going to make our Social Security so strong, so good that you've never seen anything like it. We're going to protect. I said right from the beginning, we're going to protect our people on Social Security. If the Democrats ever got in, you wouldn't have said Social Security would be bankrupt. People wouldn't be getting anything. Last week, they took down 2 of the largest Medicaid fraud cases in Minnesota history, as well as the largest autism fraud case ever charged by the federal government. You saw that with millions of dollars just being stolen. Everybody had autism. Everybody had autism. They said. It was incredible, actually. And I've just seen I see what they're doing. You haven't seen anything yet. So congratulations, JD. Be vicious like they are. They're violent people. They're violent, vicious scum. Before asking Vice President Vance to speak about these efforts.
I mean, he's not wrong. Wow. You know who President Trump doesn't speak about that way? The Iranian people. In fact, President Trump has constantly said the Iranian people are amazing people who are being oppressed and occupied by lunatics. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. President Trump is literally at war with the Islamic regime occupying Iran, and yet he has nothing but good and positive things to say about Iranians. So just keep that in mind as well. Oof, that's rough. But I mean, you know what? President Trump has every right to be upset, especially when you have this community who is literally defrauding billions of dollars of American taxpayer money.
I want to express our tremendous gratitude to our outgoing Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's a terrific person, actually. She's come up with some findings that were pretty good.
Also, before we continue, I was looking for this video and I found it. I'm just going to share it. I'm just going to share it, no context. Oh, my browser lost audio. Sorry, guys. Give me a moment. It happens. Okay.
So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
No, I don't get what you mean. I don't get what you mean. She's like, it's more than just about bananas and rice. And then she literally says, it's like bananas and rice. First of all, guys, Iranian, rice is literally like a staple. Okay, like pretty much every single meal, like I don't know, I would say like 80 to 85% of Persian food comes with rice. Never in my life would I eat bananas with rice. I mean, the only time I would actually eat bananas with rice if it was like what's the word I'm looking for? Think of like tapioca, right? So we do have like a sweet dessert that's made with rice, which is sort of like rice pudding. That's the word I'm looking for. Rice pudding. So we Iranians, we have our own version of rice pudding. That's the word. Sorry, guys. The immigrant part of me took over my brain for a moment, and I was like, how do you say sholizard in English? So we do have actually our own version of rice pudding. It's so good. So this is Iranian rice pudding, actually. So it's basically made with like so delicious. It's like rice, and it's cooked in like milk and cream, and then the yellow is the saffron. So it's got like sugar and saffron. No raisins. It's basically just like a rice pudding with no raisins. But I mean, this is really good. But the way that she's making it sound is like rice and bananas, which is weird. Now, fried plantain with rice is delicious. Like, I love fried plantain with rice. Like, that is phenomenal. But it's just weird. And even if this thing that she's referring to is okay, like even if, let's say, it's a delicious meal, it's just so weird because she's like, it's more than just rice and bananas. And then she literally contradicts herself and says, oh, it's like rice and bananas.
So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice.
So being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice.
It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice.
I'm sorry. So she's like, it's more than just bananas and rice. It's hard to describe. It's a cultural fusion. It's like bananas and rice. That's the funny part about this whole thing. Anyways, you know what? If bananas and rice, if it's in the form of a dessert, like if the dessert looks like this, which it probably does not, because Iranian cuisine is like gourmet next level, because our recipes are literally like 5,000-6,000 years old. So, we've had like 6,000 years to perfect our recipes. Literally the best rice pudding in the world. If you ever have an opportunity to try Iranian rice pudding, you are in for a treat. By the way, my mom's sholizad, we call it sholizad. My mom's rice pudding, Iranian rice pudding, the best in the world. And I've tried them all. All right, let's go back to the White House press briefing. Especially now that we've had President Trump go all out and no holds barred. Maybe that's why President Trump has Pete Hegseth next to him, because maybe he's like declaring war on like the fraud in Minnesota.
Charged by the federal government. You saw that with millions of dollars just being stolen. Everybody had autism. Everybody had autism. They said. It was incredible, actually. And I've just seen I see what they're doing. You haven't seen anything yet. So congratulations, JD. Be vicious like they are. They're violent people. They're violent, vicious scum. Before asking Vice President Vance to speak about these efforts, I want to express our tremendous gratitude to our outgoing Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's a terrific person, actually. She's come up with some findings that were pretty good. And Tulsi's worked tirelessly to restore trust.
Let's go back and see if we can spot people. So, yeah, see, that's JD, guys. So this is JD Vance right there. You can't really see him, but I think like that's him right there. And you can tell like he's literally sitting right opposite from President Trump, right? You can just sort of see his forehead there. But that's JD Vance. And the guy sitting next to Pete Hegseth, that is definitely not JD Vance. I can tell you that right away. So yeah, that's President Trump, and then JD Vance is right there. I can recognize him from his forehead. It's also crazy, guys. Do you see the media? So that's also like, a point of view, a perspective that a lot of people don't get. So when I was a politician and I did these sorts of conferences, and I would do press briefings, when you get like the camera angle from the media, it just looks like one or two people standing there, but literally behind the camera, it's chaotic. And you see this crowd, like that's just a small sample of what it's actually like. Like there's literally like 20, 30 people there. You see all like the mics and everything. So yeah, very interesting. Oh yeah, no, JD Vance is right there. So we confirm JD Vance is opposite from President Trump, which is typical, normal, and expected of the vice president.
She's come up with some findings that were pretty good. And Tulsi's worked tirelessly to restore trust and focus on the intelligence and with the intelligence community. They all respected her. They listened to her. She gave us leads that were pretty much, people thought they were dead and they weren't dead. They were right there. And she was able to expose a lot of things that we used at the FBI with Cash and with Todd and with JD and everybody else. It was amazing. She dramatically reformed the Office of Director of National Intelligence and cutting the staff by 40%. And she prevented countless terrorists and cartel members from entering the United States. She exposed mountains of evidence related to the Russia hoax, probably the greatest hoax in the history of our country. Although when you look at the fraud coming out, there's a lot of them. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of them. But the Russia hoax, a great hoax, a very dangerous hoax too, and revoked security clearances of officials involved. And she declassified numerous historic documents of special public interest, including related to the JFK and RFK assassinations, which everybody wanted to see. And we're now releasing a lot of things having to do with space. It's people are very interested in that. It actually became the number one topic. We're releasing a lot of information having to do with extraterrestrial.
Guys, President Trump, this is a shout out. So guys, my sister is going to be starting a YouTube channel soon. She's an aerospace engineer. She literally studied aerospace engineering at university. She's literally a genius. Like, I'm not the smart one in the family. She is. But she's going to be starting up a YouTube channel soon. And she's going to be like talking about all things like space and I don't know, extraterrestrial stuff and like all the UFO stuff, right? So, because like that's what she studied. Like that's her jam. So, yeah. And then maybe, I told her she needs to do live streams and call it like Alien Revolution Live. So there you go. And if there's anyone that you want to learn about space and like UFOs and stuff like that from, it's my sister. Because if you think I'm smart, you haven't met her. She's literally the smart one in the family. Like, this UFO stuff is fascinating to me. I just don't understand it, because I look at it and I'm like, what is this, the X-Files? Like, I don't get the I think it's super cool. Like, it's super cool, but it's just, I don't know how to explain it.
Terrestrial things, and people are totally fascinated.
Even President Trump is like, extraterrestrial things, right? Because that's like, it's like beyond our scope.
Interested in that. It actually became the #1 topic. We're releasing a lot of information having to do with extraterrestrial things, and people are totally fascinated by it. It's amazing. I wasn't sure if they would enjoy it. It's literally.
I mean, does this mean that the X-Files are real? Like, President Trump is basically confirming that the X-Files existed, right? The X-Files pretty much existed. So my childhood was not a lie. Scully and Mulder. Mulder and Scully.
Trending #1. Can you believe it? So a lot of people out there are like it, but we're releasing all of that information. And Tulsi, we're praying for you and for your husband. Her husband's not feeling great, but he's going to feel great soon. You're going to get him better. And he's a wonderful guy. So just say hello and thank you for the great work you've done. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to ask JD to say a few words about the war on fraud, followed by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who's doing fantastically, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, another one. I mean, we have great people. And the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Central Casting. He loves war. I don't like it. He's a good man, that one. And Scott Bessent, you talk about a guy doing a job. It's been fantastic. Thank you, Scott. Really fantastic. And a lot of the success that we're having with other countries is what you've been able to do and find. And SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler and all of the people here have been great. We're going to just do those few, and maybe if you have some questions, we'll go to others. But everybody around here has got a lot to say. But we did that once, and it lasted for like 4 or 5 hours. It was a little much. We want to be open. So now, if I do it this way, they'll say he didn't let anybody talk. But let's start with JD, and you can talk about a really, really important thing, bringing our country back to honesty. A tremendous amount of money is involved. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thank you for your leadership, sir, and for making it possible. I often find in the
Guys, just wanted to point out that apparently Scotty B is Texas Troops' secret husband. Not so secret anymore, is it? Because now everyone can see your YouTube comment. Yes, Goldie's feeling spicy tonight. No, I'm teasing. All good, all good.
fraud task force, that there sometimes are barriers that we need to break down, agencies that need to coordinate, and I'll come to the president and say, Mr. President, I need your permission to do, he'll say, for what? For the fraud task force, and he'll cut me off and say, yes, go do it. So the fact that we have dedicated presidential leadership is really what's made this possible, because it does require, we've got great people around the table, but sometimes these agencies don't know how to work together at the lower level. And that's one of the things we've had to turn on and force with the fraud task force. So I want to shout out just a few all-stars here. Linda at the Department of Education has been amazing at finding student loan fraud. You've got people who are either illegal aliens or aren't even actually real human beings who are getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the Department of Education for student loans. We have cut that off. We found a lot. We're going to find a lot more. Scott at HUD has been amazing, because a lot of the fraud that we see is housing fraud, people claiming benefits that they're not entitled to, or against, or sometimes completely made up people who exist purely to collect fraudulent money from the American taxpayer. Brooke at the Department of Agriculture, something I had no idea until I started this work, sir, that we send hundreds of billions of dollars to the states to administer the food stamp program. The federal government has no insight into whether those food stamps are going to people who are legally entitled or whether those people actually even exist. And so we're working on a number of mechanisms to actually force the states to verify that the people who receive these benefits are actually entitled to them. And I could go down the list. I've gotten a lot of support from a lot of people in this room. Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Oz have been particular all-stars on this, and Kim at H&HS. what they've done with the Medicaid fraud, we found tens of billions of dollars in Medicaid and Medicare fraud just from their hard work. We've cut that off. And yes, Mr. President, we're going to find a lot more. The final thing I want to say, Mr. President, and I know that Todd maybe has something to say about this as well.
Whoa, okay, someone mentioned Kuwait in the chat. What? Guys! Okay, so I just searched for Kuwait on X. Geez, look at this. So this is from 34 minutes ago from the official account of the Kuwait Army. Kuwaiti air defenses are currently confronting hostile missile and drone attacks. The General Staff of the Army notes that any explosion sounds heard are the result of air defense systems intercepting the hostile attacks. Everyone is requested to adhere to the security and safety instructions issued by competent authorities. What in the Allahu Akbar jihad is happening in the Middle East right now? Oh, wow. Oh, my God. My X feed is wild, guys. Look at this. I literally open up my X and I just see this. 2 Minnesota residents arrested for $21 million Medicaid fraud scheme. That's just what President Trump was talking about. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these two patriotic Americans who stole $21 million of your taxpayer dollars. Guess which country they're from. Yeah, no wonder President Trump is upset. Oh. Wow. These people have literally stolen $21 million of your taxpayer money. Wow. Wow. Wild. Okay, but that's not why I came. I'm searching for Kuwait. Let's see what we can find on Kuwait. Okay. Why should I go by... Ugh. Okay, I literally blocked you. Like, guys, this is so annoying. Like, I blocked this garbage account like a while ago, and it still shows up on my search feed. Like, literally, like he's blocked because this guy is just garbage. He's literally just like a grifter. Stop with your... Oh my gosh. Why is it just this guy? Okay. Al Jazeera. Okay. So it's basically just the post from the Kuwait Army. Because everything else is just like reposted garbage. All right. So, all right. At least I have the right thing. Okay. Whoa. There we go. Okay, I will keep an eye on the Kuwait situation. But yeah, let me go to my... So apparently the Islamic regime state TV, like Durka News Network, they're claiming that the Islamic regime fired warning shots at 4 vessels attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz without coordinating with the IRGC. Whether that's true or not, we have no idea because, again, remember, everything coming from the Islamic regime is pretty much a lie. So we don't know if that is true or not. Oh, what's Vahid saying? Guys, this guy is great. Oh, no, wait. Oh, no, that's not the same Vahid. This is a different Vahid. Never mind. I thought he was the OSINT guy. He's good too, but he's more of a historian. Let's see what's going on. Yeah. Okay, so the only thing we have about Kuwait is the Kuwait army. So, okay, let's go back to the cabinet meeting. I will keep an eye on the situation and I'm going to monitor it. I'm just going to go off camera for a few minutes just to check a few things. And I'll be right back. But I will be here, guys, and I will be watching.
But I always try to remind the American people, and certainly remind the cabinet officials. By the way, Kelly at SBA has found tens of billions of dollars that were from fraudulent loans that were giving under the Biden administration, and we've now cut that off and recovered a lot of that money. So this has been a whole of government effort, Mr. President. The team really deserves a great deal of credit here. But the final point I want to make, sir, is I always try to remind the American people that fraud is fundamentally a crime with two victims. The most obvious victim are the American taxpayer. They pay their taxes. They expect the money to go where it should go. And that's not happening because of the fraudsters. But there are also victims, people who benefit from these programs that don't exist if we're not actually taking care of the fraud issue. And let me just give one example to build on something you said earlier, sir. One of the people that Todd just prosecuted was a person who was collecting a lot of money from the American taxpayer to take care of elderly citizens, people who worked their entire lives, paid their taxes, should have had dignity and nobility in old age, but it was deprived from them from fraudsters who say that they're taking care of them, who collect a check to take care of them, but then abuse and neglect these people. And particularly one man who died because he wasn't getting adequate care, and that guy was still collecting benefits to take care of a person who he had completely neglected. So not only do you have an American taxpayer who's paying into these programs, you have an elderly citizen deprived of his dignity because we're not going after the fraudsters. Well, now we are.
How much money did he get?
Sir, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more than that, but we think that that exact type of fraud has been replayed all over our country. That particular case was outside of Minneapolis. We expect that there are tens of thousands of people who are collecting fraudulent money to take care of people, and they're not actually taking care of them. We're, of course, going to get to the root of as much of it as we can. But again, sir, it's been, I wouldn't say fun, because you find out how much people have been taken advantage of, but it's certainly very good and valuable work. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Attorney General, please.
I'll just continue to talk about what the Vice President was just talking about. The way that we are actually, it's one thing to uncover fraud, which we've done, and that's part of it, but it's also prosecuting the bad guys that are doing it and stopping it from continuing. And that's where you have everybody in this room has inspector generals. And for many years, these really hardworking law enforcement members would identify fraud and nobody did anything about it. DOJ prosecuted it, but spent a very little resources on that. So what we've done just in the past 51 days, over 400 law enforcement actions in this country related to major fraud. That's search warrants, that's arrests, that's convictions, that's indictments that are filed, and that's just 51 days. And it's not just the great prosecutors. It's the FBI agents, it's DHS and HSI agents. It's everybody in this room that has inspector generals that are now. They have been freed up, and it's because of you. It's because of the Vice President saying this is going to be a priority of what we are going to do, not just the Department of Justice. Even though we're the prosecutors that are putting bad guys in jail, it's also the law enforcement at every agency, FBI and DHS. And so we're already seeing results. We had a $1 billion fraud, a conviction at trial last week out of Florida. And this was an organization that was stealing from senior citizens in Florida, duping them. There were call centers set up in the Philippines, and they were duping them to buy medical equipment that they didn't need, that they would never get, and that the taxpayers paid for. And so that's a good win. We arrested 15 guys in Minnesota last week. The Vice President mentioned one of them. These are people that are not, they're just stealing. And many of them are here illegally. And so you have people who are in this country illegally, who are then taking advantage. And the Vice President says something a lot that resonates with me. The generosity of the American people, the generosity of everybody in this room, the leadership, to take care of the people in this country that are the most, that deserve it the most. Children who are supposed to get food at school, and you have men just stealing, taking that money, and so that's what we're focused on. We are standing up, as you know, Mr. President, you allowed us to stand up a new division at the Department of Justice. It's our entire existence of that division is to combat what we're talking about. And then every U.S. Attorney's Office is now focused on it as well. So this is something that will result in a better place for every citizen in this country and save money, a lot of money.
I really do appreciate the speech, but sorry for all the American viewers. I really want to get to the part about Iran because we are running a little bit later than usual. Let me just see. Okay. All right. So we're going to have to save the second half of this for tomorrow night, which is fine because I have a feeling that there's going to be more news and info coming out tomorrow. And that's going to make this analysis of this cabinet meeting even more interesting because we'll be able to add more layers and context to what everyone is saying today. Obviously, we've gotten the highlights. We saw the highlights on Jesse Waters and on Sean Hannity as well. So we know the highlights, but the reason that I like watching the entire thing is because I like to analyze the body language, the nuances, and of course to provide some commentary and analysis. But I do have to call it a night for tonight because we're coming up to 3 hours, getting a little bit late. And I do have a long day tomorrow. But I will see all of you tomorrow for Iran Revolution Live. And we're going to continue this particular live stream in the evening. So Iran Revolution Live, it goes live, I go live every day. The live stream starts at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. But there's about a half hour of a pre-show with some, music and videos and stuff. But the actual show starts at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. And then the evening live stream, honestly, the evening live stream kind of depends on my personal schedule and, some of the other things that I do. Usually I go live around 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But if you're, I know it's difficult to see, I don't think Twitch or Kick, or X has the pre-notifications or whatever, but if you're subscribed on Rumble or on YouTube, you will see the notification for upcoming live streams and when exactly it's going to be going live. So keep an eye out for that. So I will go to your final super chats before I call it a night. And I do appreciate everyone for the questions and comments. And the chat has been fantastic tonight. You guys are great. I mean, I'm loving the inside jokes. I'm loving the comments. I'm loving the feedback. I learn a lot from you guys as well. And, I know that, I can't obviously respond to every single comment, but I try to read most of your comments when I can, when I'm not, watching the screen. So that's why I like having the comments here, on the screen as well, because it kind of lets me sort of keep an eye on both things sort of at the same time. Okay, so Galveston 340 sent a super sticker. Thank you. Galveston's from Texas. I know that because I'm assuming you're from Texas because Galveston Beach is in Texas. I could be wrong though. Mike says, cheers to seasonal Goldie. And now I know. Yes, Mike's referring to my curly hair. And now you know. Yes, because most Iranians, we have curly hair. That's just, I've mentioned this before, but when you look at sort of the carvings from Persepolis, right? When you look at the carvings from Persepolis, you see like the way that their hair is depicted, right? So, for example, you see all the curls? Yeah, the curls there, like the beards are curly, their hair is curly. Yeah, so that's pretty much the Iranian genes come through in the summer, right? I can hide it in the winter. I can hide it in the winter with my straight hair, but once the weather starts getting hot and humid, there's no way to control the Iranian curls. But yeah, there you go. Tammy Eaton 4791 says the PRC, she's referring to the People's Republic of China, is in a free fall since they now must pay market prices for oil. You can't make things as cheaply if you're not getting oil at $8 to $10 per barrel any longer. Paper Tiger. That is an excellent point. Guys, so a long time ago, before I was a politician, I was an international trade lawyer. And my area of expertise was the World Trade Organization, tariffs, duties, dumping, and subsidies. And in, the 5 years that I was doing international trade, and guys, like when I mean I was doing international trade, I was literally immersed. Guys, I literally represented the Kingdom of Thailand at the Federal Court of Appeal in Canada at the age of 30. And I won my case, by the way. I won my case. So yeah, like I know like international trade law, like the back of my hand, because I literally lived, slept, and breathed it for 24 hours a day for literally 5 years of my life. So China's strategy has always been this. They will flood markets with one particular product and they'll flood it super cheap. And by doing so, they will destroy the domestic market. And then once all of the local domestic manufacturers are out of business, that's when China all of a sudden jacks up the price, right? And then they jack it up even higher than what the domestic prices were. And the best example that I can give you is bicycles. Now, I'm talking like 10, 15 years ago. The situation might have changed, but I don't think so. But China effectively imported so many bicycles into Canada and they dumped them. And what I mean by dump is that like that's a legal term in the international trade community. So when you dump a product, that means you bring it in and you sell it at a price that is below the manufacturing cost. So for example, if the bicycle costs $50 to make and to ship over and everything, and if if you sell it for, I don't know, let's say $35, that's called dumping because you're dumping the product at below the manufacturing cost. So that's exactly what China did to bicycles in Canada. They imported so many bicycles from China that eventually every single Canadian bicycle manufacturer went out of business. And then as soon as all the local manufacturers went out of business, the prices were immediately jacked up. Now we're talking 15 years ago. I obviously haven't kept myself updated on the current status of bicycle manufacturers in Canada. So let me just do a quick check. So, oh yeah, of course, wow, like like I literally search up bicycles, and obviously like the garbage CBC. So CBC is like the BBC. It's literally like a state propaganda, or I should say like left-wing fake stream media. Unfortunately, it's funded by our taxpayer dollars. Like, what idiots? They're like, is it time to backpedal on bicycle import tariffs? No, the tariffs were implemented to try and save the domestic bicycle manufacturing industry. And then this idiot reporter is saying, like, few manufacturers appear to benefit from the levies, while cost is usually passed on to consumer. No, the cost being passed on to the consumer is because the government allowed China to dump their products into Canada and effectively destroy the local economic ecosystem. You fool. Anyways, it's really annoying dealing with these, ignorant reporters who literally know nothing about anything. But yes, you're absolutely right. So part of the PRC strategy in terms of being able to destroy local economies and by mass dumping their own products in there is the cheap price, the cheap cost of manufacturing. And part of that cheap manufacturing cost comes from the fact that they have been getting heavily subsidized oil from the Islamic regime. Now that that's no longer at play, this is definitely going to inhibit the PRC's ability to dump products into various countries and try to destroy the local economies. Now, this isn't like to say that Chinese-made products are bad. Absolutely not. Chinese-made products are excellent. I mean, those that are imported to Western countries, right? Because the Chinese products that are manufactured and imported into Western countries, they have to meet the same standards as the products that are being domestically made, right? So in terms of standard and quality and all of that, it's typically higher when it's being imported to countries. But the issue is the dumping, right? And that's something that a lot of companies have taken advantage of. So Tammy, you're 100% right on this. The fact that the fact that China can no longer buy subsidized oil from the Islamic regime, that will definitely impact the Chinese economy. And that in and of itself may very well put a huge dampener on the mass dumping and importing of various Chinese products into, Canada, USA, and elsewhere. And that in and of itself will severely weaken China geopolitically, which again will help to position the United States as the geopolitical world power, for the next century to come at least. David Simpson says integrated. Yeah, I think he's referring to the, bananas and rice people. Push-Up says Canuck who thinks cheese on fries is delicacy. Okay, well, first of all, Push-Ups, those are fighting words. Second of all, no one said that cheese on potatoes is a delicacy. Poutine, or poutin, as some people call it, it's not a delicacy. You don't eat poutin when, you want a delicate, fancy meal. Poutin is something that you eat usually late at night, like after, you're going out drinking or whatever, right? So Obviously, I don't really do that anymore. I haven't done that for a long time. But, in my youth, have I enjoyed a late night poutine here and there? Yes, absolutely. And by the way, it's not cheese on top, it's curds, cheese curds. There's a difference. And now you know. And guys, you don't have poutine, right? Like, you Americans, you literally I don't know, you just basically take fries and you put like grated cheese and gravy on top. That's not poutine. That's like some weird hot American mess. I don't know what the heck that is. But this is what poutine actually looks like. It has to be poutine sauce and it needs cheese curds, not grated cheese. Like, grated cheese is weird. So yeah. Okay, and then our last super chat, Rod Miller says, Rosie needs to invite George Noory, Coast to Coast AM. Oh, I know that guy. Guys, I've listened to George, Coast to Coast. A lot of times when I was working late in the evenings as a politician, I just had the radio on. I would literally have Coast to Coast. He talks on 600 radio stations across the world about aliens and loves rocket scientists interested in this topic. Very cool. Okay. I will pass that on. I love listening to Coast. I actually started listening to Coast because of my dad, because my dad used to listen to Coast as well. But there you go. Okay, so guys, thank you everyone for tuning in to tonight's live stream, where we had basically a mix of breaking news with the explosions in Bandar Abbas, United States military confirming it. We had some laughs, we had some sighs, we spoke about bananas and rice, and we began watching President Trump's cabinet meeting. And the reason that I'm watching the whole thing, again, as I explained, is because, we've seen the highlights, and I get that. But I think there's more going on behind the scenes. And the fact that this cabinet meeting happened today, and President Trump basically said, we're either going to have the best deal or no deal at all, right? He said, we're going to have a great deal or no deal at all. President Trump said, President Trump said, we don't want a good deal. We want a great deal. And that's the kicker. And once again, tonight, the United States boomed southern Iran, specifically targeting the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, strategically weakening them. So let's see how this all plays out. But until then, I'll see all of you guys tomorrow. I'm Goldie Ghamari, and you have been watching a live stream episode of The Goldie Show. Until tomorrow, Payanda Iran and Javid Shah.
غرق انقلاب است. کشور ما، تاریخ ما در سینه گر فرا گرفته، گویی اهورا مستا دوباره در نور خود مرا گرفته. هشتم سرودی سر میدهم باز فارغ از رنج و تشویش، ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. هن ای پدر، هن ای پسر، برخیز و باماش و همگام، تا درد آن تجربه تلخ ما را نکشیده در آب. بگذار هر دم بغرند گرگ‌ها دم لباس میش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش جگر راحت کنون ادامه دارد. در این زمان که پرتو یزدان از هر سو بر تو میبارد، پس پیش به سوی آزادی از بحر خزر تا کیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. خلقا به پا بهر دفاع از استقلال و آزادی، تا بشکنیم پشت ارتجاع تیریزی ویران آبادی. تا زنده سازیم سنت‌های می از من آیین و کیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش.
با امید روزی که تمام این دلبشو انقلاب تموم بشه و ما در روشنایی، نور و سعادت مردم کشورمون غرق بشیم.
نه خارجی نه بیگانه، نه مستشارهای ویرانی، نه چیر خاران نه کاسلیسان، فقط هم رزمان ایرانی. با شرافت میهنی بسازی بهر فرزندان خویش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. مردان بیایید داخل صف ما، اکنون که آغاز رویاست. دشمنان بدانید ما زنده هستیم، بعد از ما هم ایران پابرجاست. آن روح شیطان ما را فریب داد با صد شعار مردمیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. پرچم ما پرچم ایران غرق خون شهیدان، روی شانه هامان هم میکنیمش در هر خیابان و میدان. تا ماسک دلغکان را برداریم از روی تسبیح و ریش. ایران